Okay, I think we are live.
I think we're live.
Awesome. All right.
All
Well, thank
right.
you very much for coming on, Dave. I
Yeah.
know Sean did an interview with Felix last month. That was a really awesome interview. So very
Yeah.
happy to have you here so I can pick your brain.
Yeah. Thanks for setting this up.
So I know we have quite a few questions from people in the community. So I'm going to try to get through as many of the questions as I can, but I don't want to rush Dave. So we will just kind of pick and choose and then see how we get on. If we have time at the end, then I'll go back over some of the
Yeah,
questions.
that's great. That's great.
Cool. So I am very interested to hear how RC Powers started. Like, how did you get into that? And have you always had this entrepreneurial kind of itch to start something of your own?
Kinda, but I wasn't aware of it. There wasn't entrepreneurship when I was growing up because there was no internet. It was either you get a corporate job and make a lot of money or you're blue collar and you don't. And so the
Yeah.
internet kind of gave open up the possibilities of entrepreneurship. And then once I started to kind of see the online stuff, I'm like, wait a minute, this feels like cheating. Feels like you could kind of just figure it out as you go. You don't have to kind of go
Yeah.
like a set path. But I was working at that blinds job in like 2000, or I started in like 1998, 99, and went to like 2004, 2003. And so I was just kind of stuck in a kind of a blue collar job and really didn't believe in myself, didn't believe I could do anything else. And just kind of waiting for the Lord to take me on a new path, kind of had this kind of
Yeah.
mindset. So just kind of stuck, just kind of getting very toxic and stuck. And so I finally remember praying, like, okay, I think I'm going to venture out and try something new. And if I'm on the wrong path, hit me with a 2x4 and wake me up. Like I just had no sense of any control over my own life or my own destiny, just kind of sitting, being miserable, not doing anything about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I bought one of the first ebooks ever from this guy named Jesse Canoe. He was doing personal training online. I think he's still doing stuff. This is like 2003 or 2004. And he has like 7 kids or something like that. And so he had talked about using this new thing called Google. And rather than like going out and try to find clients, you can set up a website and have people find you. So that was like a whole new concept. So like printed this thing out somehow. I don't know how I printed it out. I can't print anything out today. So like my skills are going down. And so I would like carry it around the work van and read it all the time. And then some good luck fortune, like the gym that I happen to be working out at was just coincidentally starting a personal trainer program, because I'm like looking
Mm-hmm.
all around Los Angeles to try and find a gym to be a personal trainer at. And finding a gym in Los Angeles, it's a jungle out there. A lot of challenging. Like driving is the thing. Like you find a gym here to here, but it's like an hour and a half drive. So randomly, I was able to get a job at the gym doing personal training, and so that was like my first insight of like, wait a minute, I can like take my life into my own hands. I can kind of make things happen. I don't have to like wait. And so kind of got the taste of it there. And then I was at the gym for a year, and then just met a lot of different interesting dynamic people, like a lot of great interesting dynamic people. And then from there, just started to get more into the idea of like, well, wait a minute, I could get into this online thing. And so the gym was kind of like running its course. It was now like I started in a plateau, and just a lot of the gym, a lot of the drama there, like the people were so great, but it was like so much drama. It was really fun,
Yeah.
but I just started getting caught up in all the gym life and all the drama. I'm like, I don't really want to like go down this road of like just being wrapped up in all this fun and gym stuff. I kind of want to take my life more seriously. So I
Yeah.
had a good talk with my buddy, who's TENE, was his type, an audio TENE. And he's like, yeah, you really should get out of the gym. It's starting to get bad for you. Why don't you do something online? I'm like, what am I going to do online? He's like, I don't know. You like RC airplanes. Why don't you do an RC airplane business? But like sitting at like Sizzler or whatever. And like, I just throw down the money and like run out the door. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to go start a business. He's like, not now, like next, like, wait. I'm like, no, that's a great idea. Like super consume last. Somebody else will give you the idea of like, this is what you want. I'm like, that is what I want to do. So 2 weeks later, like literally 2 weeks later, I'm like starting the online RC airplane, just sleep, blast, play, just jumping into that one fully. And that's how that started. And just diving into that. And then very much resistant to the social media, just trying to stay on the forums, trying to stay on RC groups, trying to keep it small in a little box I can control. And my
Yeah.
INFP wife at the time, she's like, hey, you should do videos. You're kind of, I had a couple of friends like, hey, you're kind of good on video. You should do a video. I'm like, I don't want to do videos. And so my wife, ex-wife, she like would just like record stuff and then like put it up online. And then I started doing like instructions or whatever. And then she got tired of managing all the files, because I won't touch any of the electronic stuff, even back then,
Yeah.
surprisingly. And so she got tired of managing the files in 2004, and then started uploading them to YouTube once YouTube came out, just as a file sharing, take the burden off, our 2 megabyte hard drive that's crashing all the time. We have one computer. And then from there, then I started to get views on YouTube. So then like I consume last, I'm like, what's YouTube? And then I started looking into YouTube, and like that's just the story of my life, just like Inspector Gadget, just like falling backwards and stuff. And like everybody around me is like can see it coming except for me, So that's kind of the overview.
It's really hilarious to see the Savor blast. Just, I've got an idea, I've got to go and start now, because that's something that us blast are not doing. We're just going to keep gathering in more shit before we can actually feel like we're ready to go out and do something.
Yeah, I definitely have found the downside of that. It sounds great, right? Especially if you're a Savor consumer, like, wow, that must be nice. It's like, it is nice. I got to tell you, it's really nice to jump into stuff. But the problem, especially when you're overconfident, is I end up jumping into things that will take me like 10 years to be able to backfill the consume. And that's still where I'm at right now with the personality business. We're like, the personality code. And we just like, okay, do you know how big that is? Are you ready to do that as a 30-something-year-old? I thought it was.
Right.
And so I'm still like trying to backfill the consume of, like, saying biting off more than you can chew is an understatement. It's like a 10-year thing. So I've gotten like houses like, yeah, we'll just get that house. It's like falling apart. It's a nightmare. It took me 10 years to dig my way out of that house or job situation or whatever. So that's what I've learned, is to slow the hell down, do a little bit of consume. Otherwise it's just 10 years of backfill, or you're forced to quit. I was like, well, I wasn't ready to do all this, so let me quit and try something else. And like, okay, we'll go ahead and take that road. So I'm kind of punishing myself by going, I need to backfill all the stuff that I consumed lasted, So I feel like the next chapter coming up in the next year or two, where I kind of get to even again, I'm like, okay, now we're going to double observe and take a little consume. Let's try that again,
Yeah. I've got to say, honestly, it sounds so foreign to me to be blasting about things that you don't have just a whole pile of consume on.
Yeah, it's definitely a disorder. I definitely have learned to look at these functions and stuff as mechanisms and chemical balances, and not something that's super real. It's not like, I have a great idea. It's like, no, I have a chemical imbalance. We all have chemical imbalances, to where I get a rush of overconfidence, where it's not balanced right, and then I won't have a threat. Like, there's a people situation, like I can't feel threatened, and I should, there's a chemical imbalance the other way. So I'm learning to look at that, and I'll see the blast lasters, living with Shan. It's like, I'm like looking, I'm like, okay, I know I'm the one that says you're ready, and you can't take my vote because it's way too soon. But even looking at everybody else out of 100 people would also say you are ready, so you're objectively ready. And still watching, as you feel, it's your hormones never kick on. Like you're like, okay, I'm ready, and that you never get that boost of you're ready. Like,
you really need someone to push you into it.
Yeah. So that'd be a hard one. Like, looking at an introverted demon versus an extroverted demon. I feel like an extroverted demon, like my SE, I just have to like stop resisting it and let it do its thing. And it'll like, hey, just look at stuff, like stop resisting it. And then an introverted demon, like, I feel like you got to kick it. You got to move it, or something like that. Something other way. Like, sometimes you got to stop resisting, and sometimes you got to kick yourself forward. Right.
Yeah. I definitely feel that with the blast, that I just need someone to be like, okay, well, historically it's been other people have had to kick me to do things, and now I'm taking the responsibility of kicking myself.
And then with like the demon sleep, you'd have to like turn off the play and then relax to get into the sleep. Yeah.
The last animals are interesting. Actually, I was listening to a Q&A that you did recently. I think it was with I always forget the names right when I need them. A TSE lady. She was a visual sleep last, and you did a little bit on the last animals.
Yeah,
that was very interesting.
Oh, okay. All right.
You don't remember that
I
one?
can't remember who she is. And it's also like a month, like whoever you saw, I did that a month ago. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can only remember
fair
2 weeks
enough.
at a time.
And I think I watched it maybe 2 weeks ago, and I already can't remember the details.
Okay, so yeah, that was last year as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm like
But that
blasting.
actually,
What's that?
you went there.
I'm already on. I like what does suck because I don't get. There's sometimes I'll be editing a video. I'm like, damn, this is really good. I like to kind of like, or watching some of the people I'm preparing for. I'm like, I wish I had an extra week to actually soak this in. Like, nope, gotta go. Gotta get the assembly line moving. You know.
Yeah, yeah, it very much is. You just got to do it and then move on.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's definitely something that Felix and I really have to kind of put some controls on the front end for, because otherwise we just want to keep consuming and
Yeah. Right.
keep moving.
Yeah, yeah. We're getting a little better. Shane and I working with each other a little bit more with production, sharing the burden, and then getting a couple assistants hired. So I don't have to go
Mhm.
so fast. Um, I do like though. I do like the objectivity that like the business world brings. That it sets a bar. You're like, I can't meet that. It's like too bad. That's what it is. And then you have to figure out how to do it, and which you do it with your saviors. Like, I did it. I can get a video out each week. It's like, yeah, but now you're not doing the consume. You're like, oh fuck. And so then you got to go back. Okay, so how do I
Yeah,
do it and not be accumulating a debt somewhere else?
yeah,
It's the arena that I choose to live in for the self growth, because it just just kicking your ass every day trying to get all these things balanced. You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That actually does kind of lead me into my next question was, how did you start to see OP, or at least the functions, come about from your RC days to objective personality? So how did that kind of
Just
transition?
seeing it in the early days, or moving from RC to like a business.
Moving from RC to a business, because I know Shan talked about like seeing it in the
Yeah.
people that you're dealing with in the RC business.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the RC stuff. I got into it. Um, it's I still do this kind of stuff where it's like I got into it, in 2008, but already I was already, NIFI a couple of chapters ahead of whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm already ahead of that. I love that
Yeah.
the Air Force works that way. Like they just, sure, the B-21 flew yesterday. It's a new American stealth bomber. So I'm always watching this kind of stuff of like tracking how long it takes them to design a plane and release it and have it flying. And then it's like every time they release a new plane, like this new stealth plane, and it's like everybody in the know, they're like, oh yeah, that thing's like 20 years. Like the stuff the stuff they're working on now is like that we'll hear about when we're 20 years from now. So it's always like a delayed type of thing. So it's like, um, getting into RC right away, like I knew that I didn't really want to do RC. I knew it was going to be something a little bit. This is like a number two, like always work on their scam. I knew it was going to be
Yeah.
something bigger of like, I think I need to learn this social media thing, or it wasn't even called that at the time, but selling online or whatever, which turned into social media and all that. And so I just was using the RC stuff because I love RC planes, but it's still a hobby. I'm not like that obsessed about it, still fly them and work on them here and there, but so I knew that the RC thing was going to run its course pretty quick. And so sure enough, after a couple of years, it's kind of like, all right, took that as far as I could or wanted to, started hitting a wall. And so I'm like, okay, so what's next? What's next? And I knew that when I was doing the RC stuff, I was very conscious that I was building a framework of trying to understand how to sell online in general. I had no idea what I was going to sell someday, but I was just trying to build the mechanisms of like, okay, so it looks like this YouTube thing is pretty real. It looks like that's going to stick around. Looks like you do need a website. Looks like you got to have instructions. So just kind of figuring out all the mechanics of this new selling online thing, but knew I didn't want to sell planes, And so I remember it was 2 years. It was around of like 2010. I remember going for a walk at night with my business partner at the time, who was an INTJ. We would go. This was pre-Shan, and we go every single night for 2 years, and him and I worked on the RC stuff together. And we're like, what's next? What do we do next? Like, and he's also consumed last. And so it's like, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, we'd work all night, INTJs. And then like, it took me like 2 years to be like allowed to see the consume last, that it's like, hey, dummy, you really like this personality stuff. You could do a business on that. But it was like a blind spot. It was like I wasn't allowed, because it was something that I personally liked. So I'm like looking out here. What should I produce next? You know, it's like,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, because it's very sleep last, like, kind of like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, just today, like, so we have a squirrel, right? So,
Yeah.
ta-da, we have a squirrel, and so you know, she runs around, and I'm kind of in the process of potty training her, which I believe is possible. Shan's doubting me, but I think I can do it. And so there's like little squirrel poops here and there, and I got this new Makita vacuum. It's fucking great. It's a real good one. Just so I'm vacuuming like 4 times a day, and so it's like if there's a mess out here, I'll see it and I'll get it instantly. But like in my personal bathroom that Shan doesn't go in, there's like one little tiny speck right there, and like I'll come in and I'll just like look at it, and I'll just like look at it, and then I'll leave, and then I'll just look at it, and like I finally like this is like an hour ago, I like woke up, I'm like, pick it up, clean it, like, and it's like a weird, I can see everything out here, but I can't
Yeah.
see it right here, because it's
Huh.
like, oh, if I'm having my TikTok time or my bathroom time or my before bedtime, I'm off the record, I'm off the blast, I'm in my consume, which is a demon, so it's off the record, you know. It's like your
Right.
FI or something. You're like, screw you, tribe. I'm in my feelings, and like you'll shut everybody down. You're like, time for my feelings, and now you guys all go away. Like you can't have them at the same time, right? Everyone's like,
So is it
what
like
the
you
hell?
kind of is it like you kind of is it short-sighted or long-sighted where you have
Yeah, right.
you've got your short sight is fine, but you need
Right,
glasses to see
right,
longs.
totally. That's good. Yes, yeah. So it's totally that. So it's like it's it's hard for me to see what I just randomly saw this sitting next to me. I
Oh
don't know.
no.
That just showed up. I'm like, why is that sitting there?
Champagne.
Yeah, that's like, so that like literally that'll be something that'll be hard for me to see of like what I like to do on my off time or whatever. So yeah, it was literally
Mhm.
2 years. It took me 2 years to be able to see that, like, hey, dummy, I've been into Myers-Briggs personality since 1999. I've always liked it. I've always researched it. I've always gotten a lot out of it. It just started off as something we were using at church, and like everyone's like, cool, and then they just all moved on. I'm like, that, and I just like stayed with it. And so yeah, then finally, once I had that brain realization that I was allowed to do that, like again the next day, and that's why you can track the time of when the current Dave Superpowers channel, which is my ex-wife's name,
Yeah.
you know, it was her creative idea. It's like INFP-isms everywhere. Um,
Yeah.
so she's like, here, I got you an email. I'm like, oh, well, sounds kind of dorky. She's like, yeah, you're dorky. I'm like, she's like literally Aubrey Plaza. Like she would just
Nice.
troll me. She would troll me all the time. She was pretty funny. So then I just start cranking out personality videos at the time, 2010 or 11, just to reserve the spot online, because I know that YouTube is going to fill up soon. And so I just kind of copy the same business models, the RC stuff, just trying to figure out. And then I'm like, I'm not, that's why it's like I swung. I'm like, I'm not going to be on fucking camera. Like, because
Mhm.
filming the RC stuff, it's like this isn't too bad. It's just like a studio in the house. Like that's livable. Like you got to go out in the field with like dogs and leaf blowers and cops chasing you out.
Chaos.
Like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm
Yeah.
never going to go out in the field again. So that's why like I swung, and I'm like, I'm going to just have no camera, just slides only. Hit the bottom of something I can produce, and then work my way back up to just doing in a studio. It's also why you don't see me like out of the studio. I'm like still
Right.
traumatized of like, no, I'm not going to walk around and do a TikTok live out in you know, out there with all that chaos yet. I'll get
Yeah.
there. But so yeah, that was then kind of the final of the unlock of oh, hey, just do a personality business, kind of follow the same structure as RC business. So that kind of got that going. But then there was and I do recommend this for kids, is I kept both businesses for a lot of years. You know, 2010 to 2018, I'm running both, you know, RC and then the personality one, kind of throwing videos up on both, half-assing both, going through a midlife crisis, going through a divorce, meeting Shan, you know, just going through all this personal life hell darkness, but then throwing a couple of scraps at both of those websites, kind of paying attention to that, going, all right, once I get out of my own personal hell and insanity, which side of the hill am I going to dig my way back up? Am I going to go get a job at Home Depot? Am I going to go back to RC, or am I going to tunnel up this personality thing? And I was just like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to go up this personality road. So that's kind of my NIFI perception of my my self story of that
Sounds
adventure.
like you had a lot going on. I don't know how you kept up with it all.
I did just stayed up all night. Just stupid extrovert. I
That was
got
not
burned out.
something.
It was horrible. I didn't. I'm never doing that again.
I just had a
It's
question
not worth it.
on something you were saying before about the savior blast in not being able to see what's right in front of you and taking a while to realize that, hey, you could do a business out of this thing that you're interested in. How
Yeah.
much of that is to do with blast and how much of that is to do with number two? Because I've heard you, maybe not you, maybe Shan, previously say that for the number twos and the number ones, the work, maybe it's the number twos and the number fours. I don't know, I probably got this wrong, but the work is not personal. And so it doesn't have to be something that you like in order to make a business out of it.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I think what I'm seeing with a lot of number twos that are of different types with Savor Consume, like there's that Indian guy. Has he aired yet? I don't know if he's aired yet.
Is it Nivell?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So he's number two. He's NITI, Introverted, Savor Consume, and Mark Andreessen, he's Savor Consume. And so I think a lot of the number twos that have Savor Consume, they're like, duh, do something you love. What the hell's wrong with you? So I think that it would be more of a separating the two, I have found that to be having the framework of like, what is a human? And it's like, well, my current running theory is a human is a combination of hundreds of programs that are running simultaneously and overlapping. And just like with robotics or AI and everything else, the more you can SI them, pull them apart, because we'll tend to like kind of clump them together, the more you can pull them apart. So I'm trying to like learn to understand more of what are all these different parts, consume, blast, etc. And then what is a number two? And then even of that, it's like number two, what are we talking about? Responsibility. Okay, so it's actually generalization versus specialization. I think that's a better word. I can talk about that one, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
But then, okay, we're just talking about that. Or wait, are we talking about the demon ego, demon flex? So like getting very, very specific, then like holding that definition and then applying, okay, now show me something with Savor Consume, demon consume, masculine, feminine, to see if the pattern is standing out or if it's like coming and going depending on all of the other stuff that's mixed in with, I remember that with the planes. They'd be like, the plane flies like shit. You're like, okay, so what do we do about that? And so we used to video before the planes would crash, we would video them and we're like, what's this? Like, why does it do that? And then we just analyzed the footage and then we finally figured out like a large part of the time, the vertical stabilizer was too short. And so we literally like at the field, we would like just take duct tape and get like a paper cup or a piece of trash and like just tape it and the plane would fly perfectly straight. And we're like, okay, that's interesting. So it's not the plane flies like shit. It's that your vertical stabilizer is too short. So trying to like take that same kind of science of trying to SI all these little things apart, so I can see what a number two is.
I know that with the addition of the social types, it kind of made, at least for a little while, for me, it made typing a little bit more difficult because I was like, what I would have otherwise thought was a safer DI turns out to be a DE with flex, and it just for a while complicated things for me. But then it also helped make sense of a lot of differences with
especially past people you've typed before. You're like, oh, that makes sense. Why that person was that and that. Yeah. I'm kind of feeling the IJ tap outs with the socials. Like, I'll like type clients and they're like, and what's my social? I'm like, oh, God damn it. Like it's so hard for me to get all the other coins. And I feel like I feel like I started to rebel at 128. That's when I started to get, that's when I'm like, okay, that's enough. And then it's like 256. I'm like, okay, all right. 512. I'm like, and we're done. And then it's like, and socials. I'm like, fuck. So I'm having a hard time. I'm seeing when we start doing typing at scale, what I've seen work here a couple of times is when we've had 2 and 2. It's like, it'll be like me and Shani, and then we'll both have a little idiot partner. And therefore I'm not responsible. I don't have to type the whole damn person. I just have to bring, let's say there's 9, 10, 11 coins or whatever. I just have to bring maybe half, maybe 60% of the coins. Because with typing, like real quick, you hit a wall where you're like, look, I'm spinning. I just can't. There's in the community, Jane, a nice lady that has come through a Sleep Blast play. I was just spinning on her sexuals, and Shan's like, she's visual. I'm like, duh, like I couldn't see it. So it's like a diminishing return. You know, you type somebody for an hour and you're just, and then now you can't get that last part. So
Yeah.
I feel that way. I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm reaching my limit of how much I can see in a person because of the same thing of like, am I looking at is it number 3, or are they introverted, or are there just too many different factors on some people? Some people it's not as hard. And then the past people, like you're saying, the past people, to made the most sense. Like, oh, why is this person more introverted for their type? Oh, they're number 3 or whatever. That's,
Yeah.
or why the ones, like, right, the ones, like, that's the one that we worked backwards from, because they stand out. You're like, what is with these angry motherfuckers? What is going on there? They're born this way. I'm telling you, they're born this way. You start working backwards, like, oh, that makes sense. You know, these like nice, like, what's that?
So you watch them and you see so much DI. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, but the type math is showing that they're actually D. So what the hell is going on here?
I know, there's like double feminine EJ. You're like, why are you so aggressive?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
I noticed too that I'll see this in the number ones that are blast last. It just feels like a force that is driving them forward, and the social type is like, hey, tough, you're blast last, we're going anyways. And it just drags them kicking and screaming, whatever their last animal is. Tough, we're going this way. I've been telling people, what I've kind of seen is like the functions are very movable as far as like self-growth. So I'm not destined to stay an IJ my whole life. Obviously, you play along, but like, I don't have to be. Uh-oh, did your thing overheat? Are we totally gone? Am I? Okay, we're back.
Sorry. Yes. It did. For anyone watching, the camera gets too hot in this room and overheats. So we've now got shitty regular camera.
Actually, the new one is actually kind of nice.
That's was it?
Yeah. I mean, maybe if your microphone's a little like your microphone is center stage.
Hang on, let me just move.
Yeah, there you go. And then twist it so I can get you.
Can you still hear me though?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. That's an upgrade.
Nice. That worked out well.
Yeah, chaos. So I feel like the functions you can grow in, the animals you can grow in, the sexuals you can't. You know, like, again, take this in context. It's not like my sexual preference or gender is really going to change as I get. It's not like I can change it. You know, I like girls, and it's not like I can like willpower to change that. This is kind of what the LGBT community's been saying since day one. They're like, look, mom, I don't think I can change my sexual attraction here. Right? You know, I could try, but you know what I'm saying? So I think the sexuals are a great example of like, you don't really want to change those. Those aren't really, go find somewhere else to grow, you know? And the functions are definitely seem to be the ones of like, if you're an IJ, fucking stop it. Like, start learning to consume, right? And the socials also seem to be, in my opinion, like the sexuals, where it's like, you kind of want to leave those alone as well. It's not that you don't want to be more well-rounded, you know? It's not like where you and I have feminine functions. It would do us a lot of good to keep building up the strength of the feminine functions, but it's not going to change our like sexual orientation or whatever. And I feel the same way with like the socials of like, in order for me to be the best social type that I am, then to do that is kind of go to night school and get more well-rounded on the areas that are harder for me. But in the end, I definitely see and believe and know, very true for myself, and therefore it's kind of hard to like say this is true for everybody else, but I'll go ahead and say it, that you cannot really be happy if you're put in a social situation that you aren't designed to do, you know? Like, look at fucking poor Joe Biden, man. Like, do you want to be that guy? Like, that poor bastard. He's like a number 2 or whatever. Like, he's like fucking 80 years old. He's like, God damn it. Fuck. Fine, I'll do it. And like drags himself out of bed. I have I know Biden, right? But I have like so much respect for somebody that, like, think about how miserable that is for him. Like, last, he's 100 years old. He's fallen apart on all sides. And he still like gets up every day and fights for his family and fights for his country and does the best he can. Like, I couldn't do that. Like, and that's what it looks like, where the poor guy is like forcing himself to a number 2 to be a number 1, you know, to be the president. Like, do you want to fucking do that? I don't, you know? And so, and nor do I want to be I have these dreams of like when I'm 70, I'm gonna retire and go to Alaska, and I'm gonna specialize. I'm gonna just, they have these like kick-ass like these planes with really big wheels, and like they land, like you get in them and fly them, like you land them in the creek and stuff, you know. I'm like, fucking hell yeah. So whenever I'm gone, that's where I'm at. You can find me. But you know, I'll have these dreams, right? Like, and then your dreams will be like, yeah, when I retire, I'm gonna get like a farm. I'm gonna have all these animals and have all these people over. Like all of a sudden, you're gonna do all this blast when you're like fucking 60. You're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like all of a sudden, it's better on the other side of the hill.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely have seen that with the socials of kind of understanding. Because just real quick on that, an example would be I'll see a lot of people that are 3s and 4s and 2s as well, and they're just kind of not idiots. They're doing good in life, and then they keep like accidentally getting promoted, and they'll take the sucker. They're like, well, you know, I just got promoted, and then all of a sudden they'll reach this limit where it's like they no longer are allowed to work on what they love doing. They now have to manage all these idiots, and they're like, I don't like this, and then they'll like knock themselves back down, you know. So I think that's something people can really relate to, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's been quite interesting living with Felix, because obviously before I got typed number 3, I was like, I'm responsible. Like, how am I responsibility less? Like, what the hell's going on here? But in living with him, I now see what I'm actually not doing. And it's that, yeah, sure, I'm responsible for certain areas of my life.
This way, right.
Not everything, not in the same way that he is.
Yeah, totally. We are going to be, so the community, when we first came out with those terms, the community is like, that doesn't seem right. Responsibility. You're saying I'm not responsible? It's like, yeah. And that's because it's like, that's what all the entrepreneurs say. You know, that's we're trying to use the words in the pop culture. But now, like working with our buddy Caitlin, who's an editor, and she's number 3. It's like, okay, like she is so, like I now work for her at this point. Like when it comes to the editing and anything near editing, like she is hyper responsible this way. And so it is far more accurate, even though the language might be a little weird. I am seeing that the specialization is responsible deeply this way, because really you could make an argument the other way, that the 2s and the 1s are less responsible. Because think about it this way, it's like if me and Felix are responsible this way for everything, how much it's like the FEs. They're like, I care. You're like, you do? They're like, hold that thought, and they run over and they help Sally, and you're like, you don't really care. They're like, hey, I'm just sprinkling bullshit. You all get fairy dust. They're not, so do you really care? Because you're sprinkling it everywhere. So it's like come over to my house and work with me for a week and see how responsible I really, you know, living with Felix, like how responsible is he really? Like he'll run by and sprinkle responsibility dust on it and then run away. And then you're like, that didn't help me get the damn thing done. And so getting to know the people in my life that are 3s, and then talking to them about it, they're like, it just seems more common sense. They're like, yeah, duh, I have to let the other things burn down in order for me to get this done. It's a trade-off. I'm like, I get that. That's like the IJ. That's what I tell the EPs. I'm like, hey, idiots, you gotta build something. You can't just gather everything, you know. I kind of like that contradiction, you know. So yeah, definitely it's on my list of 50 fucking things to do. The number 2. Yeah, I'll fucking get to it. But I think changing the wording to generalization and specialization is far more accurate. And therefore I think because where it gets tough is, and the SEFEs will back me up, is we're trying to stay as close to like the wording that you'll hear out in pop culture. Like I just got a video typing guy I was doing this morning, and he's not in the community, but his wife is, and she's like, here's my husband's video. He's a really cool guy, and he's an ENTP, and I really like him a lot. He's really great. And he's like, he doesn't know anything about our stuff. He's like, hey, okay, so the first thing, I just gotta let you guys know, I don't like labels. And I'm like, oh my god, that's literally the censor word that we have in the description for ENTPs. So I like had to tell him the joke. I couldn't help it. I like labels, right? So it's like it helps to hijack as many of the words that people are going to throw at you of that type as possible, you know?
Yeah.
And because the 1s and 2s dominate the motivation space and dominate the business space, they then are the ones getting to choose their language. And so they're like, be responsible. And then the 3s and the 4s that are not cranking out the motivational videos, they're like, wait, what? And that has made so much sense, because I feel like the FEs can see this way better. I feel like we you'll listen to advice from society and from the motivational videos, etc. And you're not realizing that they all are a similar type and they're all giving advice that is relevant to themselves. What was it?
Mm,
Just today, I was listening to TomTom while I was in the bathroom not cleaning up. I was watching TomTom on TikTok, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, the best thing that I've done is I don't quit, I don't give up, and my ability to move through the negative emotions of the tribe when I do something wrong and they get mad at me, that is my greatest superpower. So he's just talking about, it's really great advice, but he's just giving advice for an IP. And like, I actually save these all in folders. So like when I find somebody like spelling out their functions, I'll just save it in a squirrel it away in a TikTok folder someday,
yep.
And so it's like, it's really great advice. It's really great advice, but not to me. I'm like, tribe, like that's not my biggest problem. It's not.
Yeah.
It's the fucking checklist. It's the software. So you're waking up to realizing that you're taking all this advice from your counselors and your mentors and your TomToms, and largely they're just telling you their perception, their worldview, and then their language of things as well, And so therefore, like, knowing that, the biggest practical application is telling, especially the fours, where it's like, hey, you have to prioritize your workplace. It's got to be about friends first. It's like telling somebody, look, for your new diet, you have to eat dessert first. It's like going out with Shani. Like, she orders dessert first just because she can. And I'm like, right? I'm like, hell yeah, damn right, we can. Who says? I'm gonna eat it all anyways. So it's like, and it's a true thing. We got that video coming up. Samin Nosrat. She's a double masculine, SETE. She's like in her early 40s, and she's got this. It's just a quick Q&A. So if you see that one for social type number 4, look for that one, where she just like spells out the exact story. Where she's like, yeah, I wanted to be a poet, but then I went to this work and I just loved everybody that worked there, and so I just had to work there because of the people, and they were all chefs. So whatever, I just started specializing in chefography, whatever the chefs do. And then she just stayed with that and worked with that, and then has just made a really happy life doing chef stuff. And but it was all, she just says it real quick. It's all from like, I have to find the environment where I'm connecting with the friends first, and then it drops down. Now she can specialize. Now she can do responsibility this way, and then now ultimately when she's 80, she can flex and say, I'm the best chef.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing, especially TomTom and Alex Hormozy, whenever they talk, they're like, just do what we do, be responsible, right, blah, blah, blah. And, if you're a number 3 or a number 4, you're listening to that and you're like, but I don't want to do that.
Right.
Not in the way that you do it.
Right. Very much so. Very much so. I do see that my dad's a 3, and he successfully has built, or, he's retired now, but watching the 3s, so the 3s and 2s are like they're like visuals and audios. They're like they're opposites. So it's like there's a weird interesting factor, attraction factor to the 3s and 4s, because we're looking at each other completely upside down. And so like the 1s and the 4s to us as 2s and 3s, they're playing some other game. It's kind of like the observer game or the decider game. Like, oh, it's not that game. And so the 3s and the 4s, they seem to be a little bit more job observer like, job like, business like, entrepreneur. So we'll see a lot of 3s that'll have dreams of being entrepreneurs, even though they're just sitting there doing the same thing. Or the 2s that are, someday I swear all I'm going to do is my one thing in Alaska, and yet they're not doing anything to go that direction. Someday. And the 1s and 4s are playing this weird, like some kind of like decider game or whatever, but watching so it's like if the 3s largely would not want to be where Hermosi is, where they're up here in a land of chaos, But I see a lot of the 3s, like I believe Mark Zuckerberg is a 3, where they'll kind of start, and like he won't you can't get him away from the code. Like he's going to keep working on the code, and so he'll kind of build himself up, and then he'll do all the 2s around him. So he's allowed to stay protected inside of his specialization. Now, a lot of the 3s I see, they kind of they don't they just fuck it up where they get pulled into all the number two chaos, and then now everybody wants to make them the number one, and then they just go up and they go down, But
Yeah.
Zuckerberg has done a pretty good job of kind of isolating himself and protecting himself, of staying within the number three zone and still managing and building the company. And I saw my dad do that, where like he started in construction like when I was a baby. I remember like driving around in his like blue Volkswagen Beetle, 1960s Beetle, and like he took all the seats out except for the driver's seat. And I remember just as a little kid, I was like this big, like 5 years old, like sliding around in this car with all these tools, and just like
Oh my
looking up,
gosh.
and he's like laughing. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. And like that was his first car doing construction. But then like looking back, like he would do carpentry for a couple of years, then he learned plumbing, then he learned electrician, and so he worked his way all the way up to like a general contractor. So if you met him, you'd be like, oh, he seems very two-like. I'm like, I know, right? Now watch this. And you rewind the story, and he's just done it like this. It's kind of a tortoise and the hare kind of thing. But then, and I saw this with my old boss, who I saw him a few months ago down in LA, went down for like a reunion, the blinds guy. He was also a 3. And what happens is when it comes time to scale, Kurt, the guy's son, talking about the people down at the blinds job, kind of my second dad, Tom Lugberg. So he's a number 3, and he maximized his business as much as he could doing the blinds, and then he's like, that's enough, and that's enough. And then his son, who's a number 2, he's now in his mid 40s. So this has been the last 20 years. He's like, fuck that, I'll help you scale it. And so Tom is still the boss, not really, but the number 2 guy, you know what I'm saying? So they can.
Yeah.
They were able to, they went through a lot of hell. It's one of the reasons I went down there for the reunion. Like, how did you guys do this? How did you scale this business? And then I found that Tom, the number 3, stayed a number 3, stayed a specialist, and then gave it to his son, who's a 2. And then the first thing his son did, who's a 2, is partnered with another guy who's a 1. So now you have a 1 and a 2, and they just scaled the hell out of this business. And now they got a couple different shops. They have like 100 employees. And when I was there, it was just me and like 3 or 4 other people. I'm like, what happened? How'd you guys do this? So, but anyways, the number 3 guy keeping himself happy by just moving himself to the side and staying in his lane, what he likes to do, and then let all those crazy 2s and 1s do all their stuff, even though the 3 guy was, So I've seen that play out. I've seen it, and then same with the 4s. You have the 4s running the shop. So it's a weird dynamic. But a lot of people they mess it up. They build it up, and then they get scared and they don't want all that, and then they just blow it up,
Yeah. I know that when you get your social type, it's kind of easy to apply the same thinking as you would with your OP type of, oh, these are my 2 demon social coins, and so therefore I need to work on those and completely ignore my saviors. And I know I went through a period of that where I looked at that and I was like, how am I not being responsible enough? Oh my God, now I need to be super responsible and do everything and not say no and, all that kind of stuff. But then I kind of realized it's more about balance and like I see what Felix is doing and what he's not doing, and then compare that to myself. So now I know what I'm not doing and just kind of doing little bits, but not going all in on trying to be super responsible and super friendly and
right, totally, yeah, totally, right. So how about this? Like, how about I don't want to grow any more in life than I have to? How about I'm good enough? I'm good right here. Can I stay here? Because it's like the goal is to be happy and meaning, and to produce meaning and meaningfulness for the people around you. To not have tidal waves. It's like, we don't all have to like save the world and be awesome and be the best versions of ourselves. Like, how about not maximum pain, not tidal waves, be kind of happy and don't screw things up. Like, so it's really like part of it is like, what is the least amount of growth that I have to do to keep the universe happy, and obviously the more the better, I guess, but really you're kind of all right where you're at, like you and I are much higher than, or a lot of people are looking up to us going, gosh, I wish I could get to that level. So kind of like not just saying that to say like, it's like, I'll see a new workout. I'm like, oh no, I gotta get on that new workout. Andrew Huberman is showing off the jaw flexor. I got to order the jaw flexor. Now I got to work on my jaw muscle. The true story. This happened this morning. So
really?
I was like, oh no. Yeah, totally true. You think these stories are fake. They're all real. So it's like, hey, are you entering like a bodybuilding contest or something? Like, what are you doing? Like, I think you're fine. Like, So what I've found is like going, all right, where am I stuck in life? Where am I causing negativity in myself and others? Where is there a bridge because the universe is like a conveyor belt that's just slowly moving us forward. And it's like inflation, where you got to keep up. Your growing and giving has to stay at like a constant 3% each year, or you're shithead and you're going to start going down. So you have to have some amount of growth, some amount of progress, some amount of growing and giving, but you don't have to be like a steroided rock star,
Yeah.
but you do got to have some, because if you just maintain, 10 years, you're going down.
Yeah.
So it's like, the ride that I'm on, it's not a 3% growth. I'm trapped on this conveyor belt that is more like a 15% incline, where I've got to get a lot of growth by the end of the year, because of all the responsibilities I've fallen myself into. And so I'll let that kind of tell me, hey, where do I need to grow? Where I'm trying to like look at my dashboard. I'm like, which one is the most painful flashing point? And of course, check consume last. Check specialization now that I can see it, and then check, demon flex. And so I have been able to see, it's taken me quite a few go arounds, like, oh, I see how it's kind of a blast last thing of like how I'm causing so many problems in my life by not doing the flex. Because right, like when you're black with the introvert one, blast lash, like, what? I'm just not a big mouth jerk like you, so I'm doing good. It's like, no, you're not having conversations. There's so many things what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. What did you not do? Huh? Right.
Yeah.
So how do you see that? It's like the alternate universe that you didn't get to be a part of. So it's like, oh, because I'm not doing the flex, I'm not being aggressive, I'm not pushing, I'm not taking charge, I'm not doing this kind of leadership thing. That's what's then causing all of this tension and buildup, especially like with Shan, because she's in tune with that. And she's like, hey, how do I tell you you're not doing this? And then watching Caitlin, our editor, where I'm just like, I learned by like watching people, in my box. I'm learning a lot from just watching her, like how she'll specialize and be hyper responsible. And I'm like, oh, what I'm doing is I'm getting up in the morning and I have 50 departments, and I'll run around and I'll get 17 of them done, which is a lot, but it's still not enough. There's still a whole bunch burning down. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What if I arrange my week where I get everything figured out, where I only have to do 3 to 4, and by the end of the week, if I keep doing that, if I get the things figured out right, that is enough. And so that's kind of how, as of recently, I have it structured, where I get up early, and I get my list of 3 to 4. This is just back to the wheelbarrow thing, but it's like I'm knowing this at a deeper level. Like, therefore, at like 2:00 in the afternoon, I have a celebration, and I'm speaking consciously to my responsibility specialization. Fuck off. I'm speaking to my disorder of like, hey, I know you don't naturally feel it, but you've done enough. You're caught up on clients. You're caught up on shows. You're caught up on, whatever else I'm working on. See, I don't have to like make myself look at it. So therefore, you did enough, and now you can change gears. Like my sleep blast can turn down, my consume play can turn up, my this can turn down, so I can get, and I'll take a shower, and it's like a second part of the day where I'm now allowed to get into because what I see with Caitlin is like, I'll be like, hey, let's do this and that. And she's like, yeah, sure. I'll do it Monday morning. And I'll like look at the clock, and it's like late on a Saturday. I'm like, of course she's not going to work on the weekends, you jackass. Like she's like, you're the weirdo, like, and like, so you'll frame, if you're looking at, so for you looking at blast, you're going to frame it the first 6 months in a negative state. You're like, how do I be a douchebag, just talking and jumping into stuff and fucking up my life? Like, that's how your brain's going to keep saying it until you kind of calm down and get through it. So it's like, for me, coming from generalization this way, I'm like, all right, how do I just stop all of my work at 2:00 and fuck everybody over and walk away and have a weekend? Like, because that's how I view the threes. Right? Just as coming from my bias.
They do, yeah.
Right. I
mean, probably not all of them, but a lot of them, especially
allegedly.
A lot of the ones I work with.
Yeah. Some of those over there. So, but that's like, I'll have because it's like, well, I'm a hero. I'm a number 2. I'm saving us from all the consumers that are not working, and all the number 3s that are not picking up the rat shit everywhere, doing all the stuff that's not their job. And I'm here to save everybody. It's like, hey, shut up. Like flip the story. And so the first the first phase is kind of a rebellious stage of like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just stop doing my work and fuck everybody over? It's like, you know what? Yes. How about that? Get through that and then start to see, and then you do that a few times, and then all of a sudden you get through that barrier, you know, and only like after a couple of days of like getting all my work done, did all that negativity evaporate really quick. And now I'm starting to build habits of, hey, I think I could get the hang of this, where I get up early, get all my stuff done by 2, and I can then turn off all that revving saviors. And now it's not so hard to go into consume or go into the other functions, because there's a distinct on and off point, you know. So I'm just now starting to dabble in trying to figure that out for myself of what is this specialization, what is turning off responsibility, what is flex, still trying to figure out consume last, you know.
And then just do it a little bit every day.
Yeah. And then just looking for a couple of percentage of points of growth per year, because you have your whole life to figure it out. One interesting thing real quick, just one thing I thought
yeah, go for it.
I've been able to start to see, so you have like I haven't done the math on the other ones, but it's like, say for my last function, you have like because I've got all of them at the bottom, you know. You're more spread out, you know. You're like hardest function is like your second function. Like, how the hell did you do that? You know?
Yeah.
That's a weird one. That's a weird one. So for me, I'm like just tripling down on the last one, which is kind of nice. So it's like, it's all in one spot, but then it's like super hard, super frustrating. Yep. So it's like, I've been able to, this might be something for people to think about. I've been able to separate, just taking mine as an example, sensory. So like identifying sensory, identifying OE, and then identifying consume last. Because right at first you're like, what the hell is the difference between like SE and consume last? Like, I don't know. Like, what's the deal there? So I've been able to separate them of like down at the bottom of the IJ. For me, it's like the human need of OE. Like, what is OE? OE is changing the channel. OE is like, hey, we need to get a rental truck right now. And I wasn't planning on like, can you spontaneously change? Can you double observe? Can you move side to side? And the S or the N doesn't really matter. Your human need, can you let go of the control and channel change? That's what OE is. That's what it doesn't matter if I tell people like the letters, you know, like with you, like a double observer, doesn't matter if you're S or N, it's just that you're OE dominant, you know?
Yeah.
And then separating the sensory, the frustration. I'll get frustrated with the sensory, frustrated with the physical keyboard. Same with Demon SIs. And you'll have the same thing. You'll get frustrated with the sensory. Yep. So like being able to pull those apart, and then the consume last third of like, well, that's very different. That's more of replenishing myself. That has nothing to do with these over here. Now they're all kind of sharing the same function, you know. It's like, and we saw this animal wiring from like mechanics, where like if you pull apart like your phone or whatever, they'll have like battery cells, and like different motors will share one battery. So you have like one battery just has like a positive and negative, but like all of these different wires are like the function bubbles that we draw up, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like you'll have your SE at the bottom or whatever, but like the human need is pulling from that, and the animal's pulling from that, and the function's pulling from that, and the different things are pulling from that. So it's helped me out a lot to get very specific of like, ooh, actually, I can live with the frustration of the sensory. That's just highly annoying to Shan, but that one, I can get through that one. That one's fine. Shan will be like, no. I'm like, oh. So, and then the OE one, I can say that I have grown in that a lot. You want to go rent a U-Haul truck right now? Let's go. I was just getting scaffolding yesterday with Shan down in Portland, like in the rain, no problem. So I'm growing in the OE, and then therefore it's allowed me to identify that the consume last is still like, that's still the one that's much harder. So it's helps a lot to, again, back to the plane of like, I suck. It's like, actually, I'm not doing too bad here. I'm not doing too bad here. It's actually this one. So that helps me put my focus on the muscle group that is the farthest behind. So I'm not just like doing self-growth. I'm going to the mall. Like, what are you going to the mall for? What are you going to the mall for? Like, you should be going to the mall for just your consume last. So just focus on that one muscle right there and get that one up, you know? Yeah. So, but I feel like I'm just playing around with this, just now starting to see these things clear enough that I can then actually see them in my real life, and therefore actually kind of work on them a little bit starting tomorrow.
Right. We actually, Felix and I, one of the biggest lessons that we've had with Shan recently in typing is pulling apart. So you've got a blast last IG, pulling apart blast from OI. So, and that was something that we really struggled with because, we're like, well, blast and OI, aren't they the same thing?
Right.
But
Right.
they're not. You got to pull them apart, and it's kind of the same for my type, pulling apart TE from blast because I've got it in the play.
Right.
As a savior, but then I've got it in the blast as a demon. So it's kind of a bit of a weird thing. So and then you add the socials on top of that, the social needs, and it just gets a little bit complicated.
Right. Totally right. And I think the sign of somebody really getting it, when you're pulling those things apart is when your body goes, oh shit, that's what I'm doing, or that's what I'm not doing. Like once you get that oh fuck feeling, oh now you see it. Now you see it. If it's still like, yay, I love ops, I love functions, like keep going.
You're not getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're currently going through that at the moment.
I know, right? It hasn't stopped yet.
No.
I wish I could say you only need to do 10 years of self-growth and then you're good. It just keeps going. I do a little consume for me. That's for me. That's for me. I like the non-sheen.
I realize I'm quite shiny and I need that, but I didn't do that.
This is my own makeup kit, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Shani is tired of sharing. I think I might have ordered it. I put some tape on it because it's had like a latch that was bothering me, so I taped it shut. It has like 2 sides. Like I don't need 2 sides. It's like makeup coming out of both sides.
Hey, we should get you to give us a makeup tutorial video. We did on Shan, but maybe you could do one.
Yeah. I told Shan if she does a makeup tutorial, should do like a voiceover and then put it in reverse. Like start with all of her makeup on and then show it coming off. Right?
That would be interesting. That would be definitely something. I did have a question for you in relation to, and this is going to come across as a real decider question, but in relation to friends and you being a Savor DI and having your own sort of DI standards for friends, how does that kind of affect who you have as friends and who you kind of interact with, or it doesn't?
Yeah, right. I currently what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing is, as far as friends and stuff, is I see. So I'll like getting to know the 4s. I feel like they give us kind of a very fresh look at what not fucking up a friendship looks like, where they have friends first, they'll help you, all that kind of stuff, and then the other 3, there's all these strings attached. So for the 3s, what I've noticed with my 3 friends is like, if you share in the specialization, you share in their job, and you're like, hey, you're doing really good, and we're really appreciative, and we really like what you're doing, you're so helpful in that job, like that kind of the 3s will kind of like be friends with people that are kind of in their work environment and that really value their work environment. So there's a couple of strings attached. Like a 3 is not going to just be friends with anybody. The 4s will, generally speaking. And I noticed that kind of with the 2s is that like real quick I can be I'll be like a little too friendly, and like so much so like when Shani and I are on the conference call with Caitlin, so it's like a 1, a 3, and a 2. Like guess who's fooling around being a goofball real fucking fast? Not those 2, And so I'll go into friend mode a little too fast. I think also feeler, and all that kind of stuff. So I've noticed that there's a string attached of like, you have to be in my responsibility umbrella, So I've really been getting a lot of good like friendship energy with the clients that have been coming through the past few months. Just it's been a lot of work over the years, but like the amount of people that are now coming into ops, they're not bullshitters. Like 99% of them are really good people that I really actually enjoy. Like other than like, I don't like obviously watching a video for an hour. Like that's back to like, that's sensorily draining for me. It's not OE anything, but like the sensory of like sitting at a keyboard and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's just mildly annoying. But then like the people, I'm just meeting a lot of really good people. So I'll feel my friend energy really, really amp up, and it's because they're like in the umbrella of the responsibility thing,
Right.
But if somebody's like, if they're not if they're not in the number 2 umbrella of self-growth. It's not even ops. Like if you're too into ops, I'm like, you're a weirdo. If they're like way into self-growth, like that's what I feel like is the thing that I'm really kind of really value or whatever.
Mhm.
So then it's just like I can just feel the friendship as a tool, because the twos are doing this as well. It's like the social needs are like, that's just the tool set I have is be friends with people, and I just feel like that's rather than using specialization or flex or whatever, I'm using friendship as a tool. But I can honestly feel it turning on and turning off. And I'm also too trying to like learn to like not turn it on too early, because I'll tend to turn on friendship at the wrong time or be too connected with people when there's still a lot of work that needs to be done
Mm.
or stuff like that. So I don't know if that kind of answers your questions, but that's kind of how I've been seeing the friends thing turn on and off,
No, that's really cool that you kind of see it through the typing, through the people that are coming through, and you're getting that friends need met in that way.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but strings attached. You'll see that's why the ones are angry at everybody, because like the ones are like, hey, I got a lot of shit to do. I'll come to your fucking birthday party later. Like I got the weight of the world, and you and I can feel that. You more than me. You're like, hey, I got a lot of work
Yeah.
to do. I can't just be
Yeah.
friends right now. And it's funny that how the function flow works. Like if you want the fours to be productive, you have to do friend time first, as we saw with Cody. As I saw with a couple of people I'm working with that are fours. It's just like you establish the friendship first. You eat all the dessert on the front end until they're like, okay, oh, that's enough friend time. I feel kind of full. I want to do some fucking bullshit work and then get the hell out of here. Like, hell yeah. And they just do
Yeah.
it in reverse. But they still do it. Just like with a number 1, like you can still be their friend. You just have to, work through that filter there,
Yeah. I was actually seeing something kind of interesting with Shan, and when we hang out with her, I really like the fact that we're hanging out with her and working at the same time,
Right. Yeah.
because that way I don't feel like I don't want to say wasting time, but you're constantly thinking about things
Right.
that you should be doing. And so
Right.
it's getting both needs met at the same time, which I
Right.
really like. And
Right.
Felix likes it too, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. Yeah, you'd think it's a T thing or a TE thing, which it kind of is, but
Yeah,
that's
I
what's
thought it was, but I guess the social need makes more sense.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's why we stopped doing phone calls, and we'll probably do something again like that in the future, because we would get on with people and a lot of them are Savor TE, and it's just like just hour after hour after hour of like, okay, look, totally friends all day long, but like I got a lot of work to do. Like maybe we
Yeah.
could be friends if we work together,
Yeah.
and so it's not the TE, it is the it's funny too to watch I love my favorite ones. My favorite ones, my FI favorite are the number 4s that are play last IPs, TIs. So they're like the most anti,
Ah,
so they're like
okay.
the most antisocial, 512 type. And they're like friends, and they're like struggling through like TI and Playlast and like just all the hardest tools. And it just shows how much the socials just drag your ass through. And they
Yeah.
totally know it, and they own it. They're like, I know, I'm so weird with people, I'm awkward with people, I'm antisocial, I'm introverted, whatever. Anyways, they just don't care. They're like, I'm gonna keep driving towards prioritizing my friends and working with my friends. And so those have been when I see those contradictions, those are very interesting people to talk to, that have where they're every day they're being forced to, half their energy is going this way, half the other way. Their
Yeah.
IP side is trying to get away from people, and their friend side is trying to get towards them, and that causes a lot of friction and energy. A lot of times they'll go through really hard times in life trying to figure that out. But they're definitely a very fun type to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a friend Uzair who most people in the
That guy,
community.
yeah,
The
right,
last
yes,
IP who
yeah,
I think he's
that
been
guy,
typed as a number 4, and he is very social, very
yeah,
friendly.
I
And I
know,
look at him and I'm like, how has he got so much energy for friends and he's play
right,
last? Whereas on the
right,
opposite side, I don't feel like I have that much energy for friends, and I'm doing
right,
a lot less
right.
socializing than he is.
Yeah. It's like you're
Yeah.
saying earlier, I felt like, because we've known Ozier for a few years, and it's like I feel like recently the past 6 months, and we saw him on the live show the past couple times, I'm like,
Yeah.
I finally feel like I can track him. I can get what's going on, because I'm always like what is he doing? What is he up to? Like what is going on? I'm like, now I'm like, oh, he's Save Your Friends. And then now I feel like I can see them, I can connect with them, I can track them, and then that's been the case for me and Shani, for each other, for our son Cody. I feel like a lot of people, I just had a massive blind spot or missing information and couldn't quite figure it out. And I feel like it's unlocked quite a few, knowing the social
Yeah.
things. You know?
Yeah, it's nice to have that missing information, that last kind of puzzle piece slot, and then you're like, now it all makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. Enough to where I'm like, okay, I'm good. There's probably more to the code. I'm like, I'm sure there is. I'm good. I
don't need to know anymore.
I can see you enough. That's good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I still try to process what I can see.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all the questions. Actually, there was a question from Guy. So his question is that you're typically leaking out what you're currently processing when it comes to op. And the last that he remembered was you were processing how specialized is super responsible in their field. So what is the current thing in op that you're processing?
Yeah, right. That's a good question. So yeah, I'm still, I feel like I go to night school for like 3 months or so, maybe a little longer. And so I'm kind of finishing up the specialization and responsibility deal. And I'm trying to like understand as much as I can to where I can see changes in my actual schedule, in my actual life. And then I'll run with that for a while until that falls apart. So I feel like I'm kind of getting there with that as of like this last week. You know what? That's a great question. Like what I've just started thinking about and puzzling, and let me just kind of do a blaster lesson along with this. I feel like, see, Demon Flex. Not to say that I'm fucking better than all y'all at fucking typing. Like I have a hard time saying that. I am so much better than most people at typing.
You are.
But like I am. I'm really good at it. But I don't like to talk about it because it's like it gets the flex. I'm like, motherfuckers, you have no idea. So, but I should push into that. I should be like, yeah, I'm really good at typing, and what I'm doing is a little bit different than how everybody else does it because I just do it the right way and everybody else does it the wrong way. So like what I do is like I'm trying to see. I can't not be weird about it. It feels weird. But what I will do is I have found success in really getting to know the mechanisms of the coins and not the people. So a lot of people I'll watch, they'll start typing once they fucking hit play on the video. I'm like, no, that's not when you type, is when you hit play on the video and you grab your checklist and you try and work through. Like that is game day. That is showing what have you been doing in the off season, the prior 3 months. And I remember this analogy that stuck with me back in the Bible days. This guy, Dr. Walter Martin or whatever, like he's talking about like counterfeit money and stuff like this. And like they train, I don't know how they do it today, but they train bankers back in the old days by just showing them the original bills over and over and over again and not even showing them counterfeit. So they make them like sleep with them and touch with them and taste them and feel them, old ones, new ones. And they just constantly put in hours and hours a day getting used to what an original real dollar bill is. So when a fake one comes through, they can feel it instantly. And so it's like, I'm constantly trying to get into like going, all right, what is this function? I was studying play last a while ago. This is probably last month. And just going, what is play last? And so I would get into, okay, what is double activated sleep? And I'm like, wait a minute, I have Savor sleep. Okay, so where am I doing? So I'll just keep trying to dive into the mechanism of what that is. And then I will spend most of my time looking at the few people in my bag or my box that are Savor sleep. And so I'm not looking at new people. I'm just going back to Jerry Seinfeld or just going back to that boring old raw information. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'll just deeply like download that for months. And then all of a sudden it's so crazy. Like when I'll then turn on a client video, if I have all my equations worked out, like, okay, so this should be what's going on. Then all of a sudden, when they're talking, I can now hear everything they're saying. It's going into place. Just like, it's like if you watch a movie, it's like a detective movie, and you're like, what the hell happened? Then you watch it over a few times, like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And you'll see this in typing, like you don't know what they're saying, and you figure out what type they are, and you're like, oh, now everything makes sense. Yep. So it's able to do that on the front end. So just trying to that's where I'm putting in all my homework and then working out these equations, trying to feel them, trying to connect them to, because I feel like with my OI, it's like my data sample is enough of myself and the people in my life. I can, like a lot I can pull there. So anyways, what I'm doing right now is randomly, the funniest thing is I'm trying to actually figure out SE and NI and work my way to NE. And I'm kind of making some progress on it. And I was actually going to ask you about this because you'd be one of the perfect people to ask with NE in the middle, double observer. So I don't know. I'll go as fast as I can. Give me like a couple of minutes to set this
Of
up real
course.
quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So this is like Dave land. Like, what am I actually thinking about all day? It's just silly bullshit. So, but in the end, like, I'll get a result. People are like, how the fuck did you do that? I'm like, forget it. So, it hit me. So it hit me a couple of months ago. So this lady in the community, Brittany, she's a really great lady. And so I was chatting with her like on the audios and stuff. And her husband also got typed. And so Brittany is a similar type of Shan. She's SETE. And then everything else is the same visual, number one, same as Shan. And so she's great because she's opposite. And then her husband got typed that is a close type to me. So he's double masculine, blastly. But so basically, like, she's kind of Shan and this guy's kind of me, you know? And
Mhm.
so she just said something in passing that I kept thinking about it. She's like, yeah, my husband does that weird stuff where like he'll lose his tools at work. And so he's consume last IJ.
Right.
He'll lose his tools at work. And then like all of the possibilities. And like he just misplaced it because he's an idiot. But he'll like blame that deaf guy stole it or blame his coworker stole it. Like, and she's like, the way that she worded it, she's like, it's like all of the possibilities will collapse down to this one only possibility. And then he won't let go of this one possibility, this one thing. And he'll just stay on that. And she's like, it's so weird to watch. And like, I think part of it too is like I'm reading the emotional tone. So it's like
Right.
the way that she's like, what the fuck? I think it was that really like stuck with me. And then like seeing me from an outside point of view, you know? And so I kept thinking about that. And then I'm like randomly consuming all these like random like universe, you know, the Congress are talking about aliens, you know. I keep fucking watching this shit. And I love that like they asked the guy, so these aliens are coming from outer space. He's like, yeah, some of them, and some of them are from other dimensions. It's like, okay, what am I hearing? You know, and so like this whole thing of like this science of like these alternate universes where there's probably an infinite number of Hollies out there, you know, and like a lot of this thought processes of like if the secret, if you think and you resonate in this wavelength, you can start to go down that universe, like all this crazy shit, right? So I have all this stuff rattling around in my head. And all of a sudden, I'll just start to kind of like, I wonder if the feminine T, I wonder if this goes together. I'll just like try random shit. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Let me try this. So in that context of that soup of all that craziness, I'm like, all right. So I'm floating out in space, and I'm an INTJ, and I live in that silly any endless possibility land where anything's possible.
Yep.
And what I do is, if I touch one sensor, it collapses down everything, and then the timeline shocks all the way out 50 years. That's why I won't get a fucking Christmas tree. I won't get a Christmas tree because if I get a Christmas tree or a pet squirrel, like all of the options that I don't even want to look at to begin with, they all collapse down to I'm now stuck in this OI timeline of hell and I can't get out of it. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. That's the IJ life. You know, everybody thinks like IJs love being IJs, and it's like, no, but it's kind of like this. My world collapses down and I can't see anything other than this tunnel I'm in. And then it's intuitive. So I can't see anything but this one timeline tunnel of possibilities 50 years forward. And now I can't see where the hell my toolbox go. And everything disappeared. And the OVs on the outside, like other timelines, like look side to side, just don't even think about that. Because my reality's collapsed down. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This makes sense of Joey Diaz. Because I have like all these like questions that are like, and they'll start dropping in. I'm like, so Joey Diaz is like the archetypal ESFP cranked up on steroids, on meth, on crack, on speed. I love the guy. And he's also like come to the other side. So he'll tell all these stories of like what the SEs are doing is they're like walking down the street downtown and they're touching everything. And it's like, hey, you just went to Las Vegas and you won a car. Like, do you have a place? So you just unlocked a timeline, an NI timeline of now you have a car for the next 10 years. Like, can you put gas in it? Can you get insurance? Do you have a place to park it? And like, they don't even think about that. Oh, I went to the party. Okay, well now you spilled something on the carpet. Now you got to pay for that. I went on a road trip. Okay, now you lost your wallet. So like like in the time movies, they go back in time and they're like, don't touch anything. And like the SEs are just fucking touching everything.
Yeah.
Because they don't see, it's like Dick, if you touch a fucking butterfly 65 million years ago, like you just created a timeline that fucked you off so hard in the future. And so they just don't even think about, oh, I just didn't go to school today. Then you're going to get kicked out. Like they're not, right?
Yeah.
And the NI the other way is scared of like, oh my God, don't give me anything because I'm now locked in for life. And that's why the SEs scare the shit out of me because they're just fucking touching butterflies everywhere. setting off all these NIs that I'm like, how the hell, like, you guys have a lot of anxiety, right? Because I have anxiety for you, you know? So fuck, man. So I'm seeing that. So it's like, I'll then start to like, then I'll start to look at my life and I'll be like, yeah. So like with the like the scaffolding thing 2 days ago, like Shannon and I going to get the scaffolding, you know, she's building like this cool like loft desk setup kind of thing, kind of integrating with our new little squirrel buddy. So she's like reacting to the new sensory and like updating the workplace and stuff like that because we have a squirrel. And so it's like I'll get moving along and like then we'll get the scaffolding there and like all of a sudden like my timeline will collapse and like I'll feel stuck and it'll be hard for me to like, hey, it's just an afternoon project. Get it set up, get it done, and go back to go do something else and go back do the same old thing, which I'll do, or go do something new. Like you can move the timelines. So that just saying like I can start to see it. You know, I start to see it in myself where I wasn't able to. I'm like, that's weird. Yeah, the scaffolding gives me stress. Bad scaffolding. It's like, no, you're collapsing timelines, weirdo. You know, so I can start to see that. So then from there, that's when I know I'm getting it, because it's like for me, my masculine TI is FI. Like I have to get it true for myself in a scary, dark, emotional way. So if I'm like scared, then I got it in my masculine feeling. And so therefore, if I have that, if I can consciously recall, oh, what NI is and what SE is the SE is you're touching butterflies 65 million years ago, fucking off the universe. And NI is you bought a Christmas tree and your life locked down. And like, if I really, really can deeply understand that and then feel the terrorizing fear of that, go ahead and fucking turn on a video of somebody who's NI or SE. And I'll be like, oh, stop. Like I can't help but now feel that story. If I have that story accurate and I have that very conscious and I have it right there to feel it, then they don't have to talk much and I can connect it to that if I can get it accurate. So anyways, real quick, how am I doing? Am I talking too much?
No, you're good. You're good.
All right,
I think we've got 14 minutes left.
Okay, great. I'll do 2 more minutes, then I want to toss this to you. But
okay.
So now I feel like I can fearfully see NI more in my life, wrecking my life, collapsing timelines. I can definitely see and understand why the SEs, because I couldn't make sense of why are you guys, why are you doing that? Like how, and like, oh, this is what it's like from their point of view. And then the SI is kind of making sense. The SI, so now I got to do math because now I'm leaving home term functions. I got to combine these two. I can barely see my own functions to begin with. So the SI is like, again, the picture of like floating out in space. What I noticed with our editors, like she doesn't like to trip over the same thing twice. So she'll, if it's a possibility, if it's unknown, she'll ask it once, she'll like figure it out. And then she'll like, okay, now that I got that figured out, I'm going to write that down. I'm never doing that again. I'm making that clear. Where like you and I will like with your fucking fan at your fucking camera or whatever, you're like, I'll just keep tripping over it. I'll figure it out. Like, you know, we'll just kind of, whatever, we'll work on it later. But the SI is like, no, I'm going to do that fucking once. And I'm going to figure out whatever the hell it was. And I'm going to get that sensory block solid. And because they don't like the surprises. They don't like the new. They don't like the chaos. They don't want to have like a fucking puzzle time. You know, it's like somebody, hey, you want to do a crossword puzzle? Like, no, I want to just pull a lever and get this done, you know? Yeah. So kind of understanding how and why SI would be doing that. And then I was trying to take a jump on NE. So kind of following, I know you're following me. Tell me what, in that context, what the hell is NE doing when you guys are walking around looking at stuff?
Yeah, so I think, because I've got the S and the N in the middle, it's not extreme, obviously, but for the most part, I don't like the sensory to change too much. I like to know that it's going to be solid and it's going to stay where I left it. And then that way I can sort of happily explore the realm of possibilities of, you know, what if this happens? What if this happens? And it's exciting and it's interesting and it's comfortable. It's not scary because I know that as long as the sensory doesn't change too much, I'm going to be okay. So if I have to move house or change jobs, it's a little bit anxiety inducing for me because the whole sensory is different.
Yeah.
But thinking about changing jobs is fine. Like I can think about that till the cows come home, but I don't want to actually do it.
So that's a good one. That I'll have to think about because I didn't think about that. That's right. Because the SI, See, I'm just like assuming people want the physical to change, but the SIs would not.
Yeah, and I've
So
also got feminine SI as well.
who?
I've got feminine SI as well.
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah, it's not even
it's,
that bad. It's not even
yeah,
like if it was masculine. Um, so say you're like walking downtown, so kind of you're walking downtown to some city you've never been to before, and then say there's a carnival going, just something with a lot of shit going on, right?
yeah.
Like what when your NE is turned on, looking at stuff, what is it? What are you looking at? Tell me, tell me kind of what you're looking at, what you're puzzling out.
I mean, mostly I'm looking at the people, but I do get very easily overwhelmed by the sensory chaos. Like I have a very, I guess, short meter for how much I can deal with in the sensory
Yeah.
chaos.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, let's get the people out of the way. That's right. I forgot about that.
I've got to look at the people. That's what I'm
Right.
focusing on. Is the people. Are they looking at me? What are they
Yeah.
doing?
God damn it. All right. Let's get that out of the way for a minute. So
Yeah.
you're at a car show. So
Yeah.
you're at, so what are some things that you like? Some physical things.
What are some things? I like escape rooms. I really like
Yeah.
escape rooms.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That I was thinking about that the other
NCA
day.
likes escape rooms.
Yeah. And that's definitely something that I would not like, because I don't like, no, I don't want to figure out some fucking puzzle. Like, no. Like that's definitely don't on the some extroverted puzzle. No, I'm still trying to figure out my own one introverted puzzle. All right, so say you go to a thing, a place or escape room. What is so is it just like NI on a miniature? You're talk me through it. Tell me what's firing off in your brain when you're in any mode, looking at things, trying to figure out a bunch of new things.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at the things, but not really looking at the things. I'm
Yeah.
looking for the patterns. I'm not at all. Well, I'm sort of half paying attention to the sensory,
Yeah.
and
Right.
yeah, so it's a little bit of sensory, but mostly looking at all the patterns and how everything connects together. And what if I move this? What will this do? What if I touch this?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
But then I guess what's weird for me as NI is that then like you'll just forget the patterns. Like I guess it's like the TIs watching us, where like you and I with TE will just go in and like figure out a thing and then be like, cool, I made it work, and then we'll run away and like not build on it, not remember that, not stack it to our identity. And the TIs
yeah,
are kind of insulted. They're like, you're just shitting on logic. I think like in this analogy, like I'm the TI guy trying to look at, and like I get intuition, like I get not looking at the things, looking at the patterns, but then I'm like, okay, so but you're not personalizing that, you're not taking that back home, you're not building that 50 years in the
yeah,
future. You're just kind of, I guess you're just TEing it and
yeah,
then figuring it out. That's cool. Maybe you'll save a morsel of something and then just toss everything else.
yeah.
So
Felix really makes fun of me because I like to experience the sensory through a screen, which I know sounds really ridiculous, but I like to look at cooking shows,
right.
and like, there's this tiny kitchens thing on Facebook where they make tiny food, and I
Yeah.
really like watching it, but I don't want to actually do it. I just like
Right.
watching it on the screen.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Do you have the tiny little feminine SI handwriting?
uh, maybe, maybe people are like, you've got really tiny handwriting. I'm like, really, do I?
They say that? Yeah.
Yeah, they say it's tidy. I don't think it's
Yeah.
tidy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I mean. No, according to normal people, you have tiny handwriting.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so yeah, like yeah, anyway, the guy's question, it's like, yeah, I'm so it's all like everything that we're just talking about, like this is all shit that I know, right? In some aspect of my brain, I know this shit, but it's like I don't really deeply know it in an animalistic emotional
Yeah.
state where I need to be able to like move myself into that feeling and be able to experience what, because there are times where we all do everything, we all get embarrassed, we all worry about judgment, we all like escape rooms or whatever to some degree, and I have a hard time like whatever brain firing you're going down to do these NE functions or whatever, I have a hard time finding my pathway of that. I'll keep getting distracted and I'll start accidentally doing NI or doing TE, and I can't access, okay, when I am in the state of actually doing real NE or whatever, what is that? How do I identify that? How can I recall that? How can I remember that feeling? Because I feel like once I can get down to that, then it's a lot harder for people to trick me, because I'm like, I can get past all their surface level words. I can get down to what they're actually they're actually feeling and experiencing, because I can recall when I felt and experienced that. It's kind of like FE, but it's FE. I'm FEing, but in this weird introverted way. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still
Yeah.
trying to leverage my masculine FI to do it.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I know.
Like that.
It's I can get it to work, but it's just I don't even know. It's hard. It's just like you hear with the SIs. You're like, this is amazing. They're like, I hate it. Shoot me. This is horrible. I wish I could stop. It's like, yeah, but it's so great. Like, I feel that same way. It's like I can eventually get the patterns, but like it's just murder trying to like meander my way down there to fucking figure them out,
Right.
So anyways, that's so what I'll just be doing the next, like I'll literally be processing what you said, because you gave me like a little sensory of like, oh, I don't want the sensory to change. I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't even have that in my equation. So I need to like, okay, run the simulation again. All right, I'm walking downtown and I'm Savor any, and I don't like the physical to change. What the fuck? And then I have to like process that for a while. I'm like, why would you want that? And then I gotta get that settled. And then I'll just keep running it until I can get it. And then I know I got it when I can see it in myself and I can see it in the other clients. Then I'm like, okay, I got it. And it takes a few months.
And I'm going to watch this back and listen to what you were saying about the SE and NI and get that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. It's got to be crazy to you guys, like the opposite functions, right?
Yeah. The problem I have is that my masculine NT will lock onto something and go, okay, I know what's going on here. I really know what's going on here. And it's really hard to move it once it's locked onto something. And it's like, but what if you're wrong?
Right.
What if this is not the actual pattern? This is not what you think it is.
Right.
It's difficult to move it.
Right. And that's what I feel. At times I like that in myself, that I have the feminine NT, but then it's like, okay, it's been 3 months, solve the fucking puzzle, like get to a conclusion, get it solid. Then I'm realizing that like, oh, I have to get it down to my masculine SF. It's like, that's SE at the bottom and FI, which is not useful in this equation. FE is. It was like, fuck, that's what I got to work it down to. I am seeing that, and this will be an interesting thing for you, because your masculine function, your masculine decider at the top, is that, hey, look, there's Shani. Hey, Shani.
She got a squirrel.
Yeah. She's squirrel checking. Hey, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Love you.
All right. Love you too. And she kept checking on the squirrel rat. She's so great. Both of them are so great. Who am I talking about? They're both great.
Hope you see that, Shan.
Yeah. But the squirrel, I'm processing like how well behaved the squirrel is. That's the chaos of the squirrel. She's actually very well behaved for a fucking squirrel, right? But yeah, people seem to hold and fight on their masculines. That's something I'm finding. So it's like, I've been telling people like, yes, you're savers, but we're all introverted functions, because Holly doesn't really care about your bullshit. She really doesn't. She's just listening to what you have to say, because she's trying to work out how to get down to her way and her identity. Right? Right? There you go. The truth comes out. So I tell her, like, do you think Shan really cares about your bullshit? She's like, no. I'm like, see, no. She's also introverted. We're all introverted. We're all Savor sleep. And then the Savor functions are the second thing, like pay attention, because that's what they're going to whack you with. And then the third is like, we really do seem to fight on our masculines, and that's kind of harder for me to see with my masculine functions being lower. But like I'm seeing with Shan, like it's all in on the reasons, and the masculine NT. That's what she'll fight on. That's what she'll hold on. And those are hard. Those are higher functions for her. And those are your savers. So you're like double masculine savers. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that makes sense. It'd be hard to like let go. If they're savers and they're extroverted, they're going to be the opposite of gun shy. They're going to be firing off, I know what's going on. And then you got to work backwards. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a bit of a bit of an ego death.
Yeah.
Lately, when it comes to typing and having to let go of that and be like, you could be wrong.
Yeah, right.
And then do all the cross-checking and then find out you are wrong. And
right. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Hey, I had one last question for you that I've been itching to ask. So what is the purpose of OP and the social types in society? And the other one is, what are the evolutionary benefits of the saviors and demons?
Yeah. What is the purpose? I don't know. I'm just trying to fucking hold on. I'm just the observer here. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think long term, the purpose the purpose for all this, I think inevitably we're all in the age of AI. We're all going to be approaching the singularity or whatever, where it's like all this mystical, weird information is all going to be known in the next 100 years. Human psychology included, whether it's ops or AI, like all this stuff's going to get figured out pretty fast. So real quick, it's just like, let the truth be the truth. As offensive or sexist or racist, like I stopped caring about that shit a long time ago, and just wanting to get down to what is reality, what is actually going on, and then how do I align myself with reality so I have less pain. And anybody else who'd like to get on the bandwagon of having less pain per lifetime,
That sounds great.
Yeah, right. You don't even realize that you're drinking bleach, just doing your functions on crack and fucking things up and causing yourself way more pain later. So yeah, the purpose is really just kind of figure out what is already there and then trying to move myself to get on board with it. I definitely have found that it is so there are some things that are scary and they turn out to be true. Like my ENTP buddy today on the video typing is like, I don't like labels, and it's not like everyone else who's an ENTP is the same as me. And I'm like, yeah, so you might look up like twin strangers and doppelgangers, and like, there are a few people in the world that they do look exactly like you. They have the same hair, the same beard, the same tattoos, the same wife, the same dog, the same kind of kid. They name the same kid. They have the same car, the same house, the same job, the same. So yeah, they are. It is kind of exactly as bad as you think. And then so you fall down the it turns out free will is it's not as that scary thing turns out to be a little bit more true than not. But what the other scary thing that turned out to be not true is there are no good types. It's more of like a growth mindset and then matching your environment. And like that is something I've like looked for. And if I saw the bad news, I probably wouldn't fucking tell anybody. But I can tell you honestly, from like looking at all of the types, like there are no bad types. There is childhood trauma, and there is stuckness and depression and anxiety that hits all of us. And then there's also kind of being in the wrong environment, and that is also getting kind of neutralized as the age of the internet. It's like, hey, if you don't like, growing up in fucking Arkansas, fucking move, and that's what you see. You see a lot of like NT people. They're like, yeah, I was born in the fucking Hicks and I got the hell out of there, So finding that, but then, the other question of, the evolutionary one, like, it's like, that's a great one. That's evolution's genius. It's caring about the survival of the species,
Yeah.
That was another scary negative thing, at least from my point of view, that turned out to be true. I wanted God to be more real and evolution to not be more real. And evolution seems to be gaining points, every year or so. I'll give it that. But the whole idea of, and even survival of the species, they've even kind of said that's a little bit it's not quite super accurate. It's kind of aggressive or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean you're kicking ass or you're dying. There's a lot of different like evolutionary niches and stuff like that. But like the idea that evolution is concerned about the survival of the species, and then even just kind of life in general, that it's kind of running rampant on the planet, kind of life itself. Like evolution doesn't care that the dinosaurs died out, because now the mammals get to take over and now we're here. So
yeah,
like you just start playing out all those any possibilities right there. I'm using any right there. I'll forget about that. So just seeing it's helped me a lot to go, oh, the game is evolution is trying to benefit the species. It's trying to move the species forward. And so I'm just one of 8 billion people currently. It doesn't personally care about me, and it's going to dope me up with hormones of I'm awesome up until I'm 25. Hopefully you reproduce and then quickly die shortly after, so the next generation can come along. I'm like watching our little squirrel grow up fast, and like you can watch, it's like literally they grow up so fast in like a matter of months, so you're watching all the stages like on, those people online, they're like, I took a picture every day for 18 years, like, you watch them grow. Like that's like what squirrels, like they're just growing that fast, Yeah. So she's already like 18 right now, like literally probably like 18, like she wants to go drive the car and shit. So it's like, it's you're watching, I'm watching a little being that is programmed. She'll like take stuff and put it in the carpet and bury it. Like, hey, there's no dirt there. And like evolution's like, I don't care. I'm not trying to be accurate. I'm just trying to like just get species to mechanically go out there and do things to move on. I don't care if you live or if you die, if you're happy, if you're not happy. And so that has been a lot of the responsibility, all of us, of the self-responsibility of like, oh, so if I want to be happy, past the age 25, because evolution's like, please die, right? That's when most people died rather young. Then that is on me to understand what it's doing and not feel bad about it, and understand that it's doing a really good thing, that these feelings of I'm the center of the universe and I have to be happy and I'm awesome, like, oh, that's just part of the delusion. Like it gives us
Yeah.
all that delusion because it wants us to run off the hill, by age 25 and go fight the Nazis or whatever, go do something with your life, and then die before you wake up that it just tricked you.
Yeah.
So is that what you guys are looking for?
Yeah, this is something that I feel like I can talk about forever because I love this topic.
Yeah, right.
So the roles in society and why we have roles and why we're unconscious by default, why we have saviors, why we have demons, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, because
Um,
we have to fight each other. We have to cause friction. Because like
yeah,
figure just play the math out, like any play it out of like, okay, great. Like even it's like in the Matrix movie, it's like, okay, great, we're out, we're free. Now what? It's like if everybody was zen and happy and balanced, then society just kind of falls apart, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's kind of
Unless
ensuring the survival of society to have saviors and to be unconscious and make sure that you are playing out those saviors and playing out your role.
Right, right. Just real quick, and
Yeah.
this is totally me sharing my private life. It's why it's so hard for me to say this because I know I'm just compromised all day long. It's why I love the aliens. It like first of all, it's like the fascination of the SE and see,
Yeah.
I told you since the 90s, I knew they were there, and like to see them on the news and all that kind of stuff. And it's really funny and it's really scary and it's really silly, but if there really are lots of species of aliens out there and they are all talking about, so when you listen to the government officials, they're like, yeah, look, we do work with these things, blah blah blah. If you dive down that rabbit hole and after that gets boring, after you settle down of like, yeah, there's really aliens, whatever, get over it, then you're listening to the message of the aliens, and they are a lot of them are more of a, and again, play along, okay, everybody out there, just please, so don't kick my ass. I'm being very vulnerable.
Doing good.
Hopefully everybody's jumped off by now. Don't listen to this. But play along with the NIFI. It's like that gives hope, a hopeful possibility of like, oh, so we don't just blow the planet up. It's like, no, you can, these other species theoretically have gotten to a very zen, loving, peaceful place where they're like talking to each other through their minds and their feelings, and they seem to be a little bit more asexual. They're not this aggressive. Like you look at like the bodybuilders, it's like I feel
Mm,
like that's not going to be around in a million years of look how much muscles I have. It's like it feels like we're going to go more towards.
yeah.
So because I remember after losing Christianity and all that, it's like, well, I guess the world just blows up and we all die and it doesn't really matter. And you just kind of feel alone
Mm,
and not connected to anything. And now that the aliens are back, it's like, hey, there's a bigger game out there. And so that's why as much as I have a hard time studying that stuff because I get so excited and so freaked out because my possibilities will collapse down. I won't look at,
yeah.
maybe it's just a hoax or whatever. But it definitely has it's given me a spark to live more, to know that we're not just destined to be idiot chimps, just forever trapped in these evolutionary forces. That
Yeah.
these are something that we can kind of be more aware of and grow out of and not so addicted to forever. But it is where we are in this point of time.
Mm, yeah. It's quite nice to consider that, there are possibly other species, whether they're aliens or not, out there, and it's not just us, and they are,
Right,
living and thriving and probably more advanced than we are. So it's
right.
kind of something that we can aim for eventually.
That,
Yeah.
yeah. There you go. Desperately find inspiration wherever you can. Like
Oh, absolutely.
find a will to
Nothing wrong
live.
with that.
Yeah.
Someone wrote more friends for us. Yes, exactly. More friends.
Yeah. I know. If I saw an alien, I would run. I'd be like, friends. Like, no, Dick, we're the bad species. We're the reptilians. We're like, oh, it's friends? No friends.
No, friends might try to kill you.
Yeah. But still, like, I'll take that. If I died because an alien got me, I'm like, still, I win.
That would be an interesting way to go.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Yeah. Great.
Cool. Yeah, no, sorry, we've definitely gone over. And
Yeah.
I know
Do you want to do
I know I
any?
promised you 90 minutes.
Yeah. No, it's great. We do a couple of bonus rounds. I can go another.
Bonus rounds.
Yeah, I could go another 15 minutes or so.
Sure.
For
Yeah, if
yeah.
you're up to it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Is there anybody in
Cool.
the comments or the chats or whatever?
I did actually have some more questions from some people
Yeah.
that I'll try to get through.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the questions was from Amy. Do you think that personalities change through things like stroke or trauma,
Oh yeah.
e.g.,
Right.
the development of multiple personalities?
Yes. Very much
Yes.
so. Yeah. And then like quickly defining what is personality. So the functions are just probably a handful of hundreds of different programs that then all come together to put together our personality.
Yeah.
Because it is very true, and I know Holly, you can see this in yourself. Like like times when you were younger, you were either like super extroverted or introverted. Then 10 years later,
Yeah.
that'll switch. And
Yeah.
so it's like like hopefully your personality is changing. Hopefully we're not the same idiot kids we were when we were 10. And we'll see that in the extroverts and the introverts will have quite a swing. And hippocampus and amygdala, like depression can change your brain. Accidents can change your brain, strokes. Like, so there's a lot of very dynamic changes. And as well as like, I think the core of ops is kind of like a starting point of like, once you figure out what type you are, the next natural response is, how do I change? How do I get out of this personality
Yeah.
type? Like, don't you want to be known by the time you're 60 as like somebody with of your opposite? I want to be known as a cool EP. You want to be known for your DI and your control,
Yeah.
So, but what we are seeing in the data is we haven't seen somebody's functions change. We'll see the dynamic of their personalities, their kind of the archetype they play in society or whatever, that'll change. But like their right-handed, left-handed doesn't really change. If they're thinking dominant or feeling dominant doesn't change. Their ability to manage thinking and feeling can change. Their outlook on life can dramatically change. But if somebody's thinker dominant, we've never seen that change from any type of external factor or anything like that. And I am kind of understanding it like hair color, and I guess in some cases, like I think Shani's hair color changed when she was pregnant, but so this might be some exceptions to the rule, but like you're really, it feels like the personality is tied way in there to your left and right-handed dominance, your hair color, your skin color. So it's way in there. Does that make sense? But then everything else,
that makes sense. So the core doesn't change, but the way it's expressed might vary a bit.
Yeah, because I guess the simplest way to say it is like the functions are there. Your function is not your personality. I think a personality would be described by all of your programs coming together. Like, how would you define it? I would say two people would have the same personality if they have 100 out of 100 programs, or as many programs that you can possibly track, all the same. So
Yeah.
if they have the same, yeah.
You see that with often with type twins, where they can be the exact 512 type, maybe the same social type, but then there's still variances in how they express themselves, how they interact. And I think it kind of comes down to the nature versus nurture as well. And like that all plays a part in how different the person is, like these sort of subtle differences.
Right. Yeah. And real quick to Amy's question, I think the way I'm currently looking at it, and I feel like we're maybe halfway. Who knows? Like, I wish the information would stop, but it hasn't stopped yet. I feel like, I feel like when I'm getting to know somebody, just my bias is I like to go in and I like to figure out their 512 type and then their social type. So that's boom. But that right away, because again, I'm coming from like, okay, say this person's coming over, or I got to work with them or deal with them. Like I'm looking at where's the threat. And so I need to know their type, but I'm not out of the woods yet. And then the next thing I look for is I definitely look for like trauma and fix and growth mindset. And I'm looking for that one because you kind of pick that up in their language and stuff like that. Then the next thing I'll look for is I'll look for like kind of their age, like where are they in their chapters in life? Are they a young kid who hasn't figured anything out yet? Are they older? So that's a really big important one. Talking to some older people in the community, it's great to you got to factor that in, that they can see you, but you can't see them because they've lived through it. So age, experience, that kind of stuff, and then things like intelligence. Well, a lot of times everybody's like averagely roughly about the same, but sometimes you get somebody who's like way smart, so you kind of have to factor that one in.
Yeah.
And then I think along the lines of like trauma, sometimes that'll splinter off into like a physical trauma. If they got in a, like Gary Busey is a good one. He got in a motorcycle accident years ago. Like when I was growing up, he was just a normal actor, and then he got in a bad motorcycle accident, and he'd be a good example of his personality has dramatically changed since his head injury. So if Gary Busey's coming over, like these are going to be the things I'm going to try and factor in to make sense and try to understand and predict them.
Okay. Has he been typed?
No.
Okay.
That might be an interesting one to look into, because that'd be a good one. I'm going to write that one down, because there's a lot of interviews of him pre-crash and post-crash.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see, just the difference in pre and post.
Yes, that's a great idea. And then if I do that with that in mind, then that kind of unlocks those paradigms of possibilities.
It does. It does.
Right. And then there could be other people to follow, of like, hey, check out this person that had a stroke or whatever. I know. So that'd be very interesting. That'd be great.
I think that is another facet that people are asking about when it comes to personality. Like, what about the trauma? What about all these other things, and how does that influence your type? So that would be, I think, a good piece of info for people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the childhood trauma, that's the big one I see. Julian Blanc, I watch a lot of him on TikTok. Childhood trauma, that's definitely that's the big one. That's the one to really pay attention to. That's the 90-10. Like, get your ops stuff figured out. That's just the basics, so you know which side is up. And then most of the work for most people is, okay, where did you have, when your leg was trying to grow as a kid, did it get all mangled up and then it grew all fucked off and you don't even realize it? And that's what trauma is, which is why everything is all, and yes, it's going to hit you in your fucking demons, because you're going to be resilient in your other areas, So that's a big one.
And it's a big task to go back through your past and look at all the times when you got triggered and trying to figure out what happened there. But I think it is definitely a really, really useful thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Okay. Question from Karen. This is what I actually asked about before. Christina Applegate was the TESE visual that I was.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Not remember her name. Yeah. So you did Q&A on the last animal. Are you seeing common causes in each type for their rock bottom moment, and what that looks like?
Common causes for their rock bottom. Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah.
So like for the EJs, is it always
of course,
jump from relationship to relationship and being like, I don't know who I am anymore, and had an identity crisis, and then
very much so. Yeah, very much so. That's the stuff that I'm really interested in. Once we start really getting a system where we can like track data. It's like I'm not that interested in, do people of your same type have the same tattoo? Like, I'll make note of it. I am interested in that. Like when you have your crash, what the fuck was it? And I want to see other people of your same type. Because that's the stuff that's what I'm most after is the crashes. Just like predicting earthquakes. I want to know, like, okay, what kind of crash did Applegate have? Tell me the details. What are the specifics? How long did that take? What was the buildup? All right, what are other ladies of her type? What does their crashes look like? And all day long, what we're seeing is it's very much that. Pamela Anderson, same kind of story of just similar type as her. So it's always the for that type, it's going to be the relationships, and there's always going to be like a mean, controlling guy in the relationship or whatever, and then she's just running. She's an extrovert too, so she's gonna be running around doing all the stuff, and then then something just like something gets thrown in the spokes of the wheel. If it's like a health crisis, middle age, like something eventually fucking catches you, and then it just all comes crashing down.
And sorry, go.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it makes sense that each type has their story, right? And then their story will eventually lead to their crash or their breakdown. And that breakdown will be based on what their story is. Right.
And for me, I feel like a problem with me of like, the more something is true to me, the more I shut up and I just don't talk about it. And so like for me, I'm like, wait, so everybody knows the whole point of ops is to know what the average people of your type, how your life crashes in 10 years, right? I mean, like, what else are you guys doing with this? Because I look
at the ones with the NI are not looking at that.
I know. I was just like, what are you guys looking at? I look at it. I don't know. I'm touching things in Las Vegas. Like, so yeah, it did like scared the hell out of me when I started seeing this up stuff, because my type, what is so great about my type is it's so fucking nuts and over the top crazy. It's like I don't have to do a lot of work to see how extroverted and chaotic and crazy my type is, and how they just blow their life up so fucking hard as I'm like about to blow my life doing the same thing. And so for me, it just scared the hell out of me. Like, because I have a, you know, I have a very crazy neurotic type that isn't just going to go 70 years without blowing something up, you know? And so Michael Cohen, I've been watching him with the Trump thing. He's the same type as me. That poor bastard. It's just got fucking like, it's like he's like at a constant surprise everywhere he goes. But just, yeah, and I've seen that's the only way. So real quick, that this personality stuff does nothing if you just like learn it. Like then your habits are still the same the next day. What does it is the midlife crisis, the midlife crash. And so you have to be on a lot of time and tension. You got to be on a lot of reps. And Christina Applegate, she's in Hollywood, so there's a lot of pressure. And so she was able to build up enough pressure by midlife to finally have the explosion. A lot of people of her type will just avoid the pressure. And so they never have the buildup, so they never have the crash, so they never have the restart. So if you're blessed enough to be trapped in an environment between a rock and a hard place, and you have a lot of reps, like you're busy, you're doing stuff, you know, that if you're living life right, you can get that crash midlife. It's like the happiness curve shows this, you know. And then from that's when all of a sudden, like what you and I were talking about before the thing of like, that's when people are like, okay, so what's this option? What is an IJ? What is this? Like, as your life is fucking in a ditch, now you're all of a sudden listening. Now you're going to church and reading Carl Jung, and now you're wanting to hear it. You can do Davey Baby Blaster videos and the terms and the ebook and the live show, and then you're just loading up really good, useful, interesting information if you're young and you're pre-crash. What I do see with kids that are in their 20s is that later on, a few years later, when they crash, they don't stay in the ditch of self-sorrow very long. You know, they're not able to get lost in anxiety and depression and think the world is unfair. They're like, oh fuck, this is that op shit. This is me. So that's great. That's great. But really, you don't get the change until the pressure, the pain, and all that. The only slight shortcut I've ever seen is if you sit down, and very few people do this because it's so hard, and you force yourself to watch videos and videos and videos of people of your same type. And that will, right? Yeah. That'll cause but you gotta be like strapped down in the chair. Like it's so hard to do it. You'll just run. Like, okay, I got it. And then you'll run away. But it wasn't burned in enough to where you'll really be so like you can't forget that kind of pain and then actually make the changes. Because real quick, your brain will heal that. You know, you'll be like, I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. So what I do is when I'm watching Applegate, I try to get in a habit of with everybody, I'll use my double deciding back on myself. I'm like, okay, what do I have in common with Applegate? I'm like, extrovert, same functions. And so I'll find so how am I doing that in my own life? And so I'm trying to pull little tiny workouts and little tiny scraps from as many people as I can. And the more fucked up they are, the better. Cause I can just like, hey, if you're not going to grow from that, I'll try and take some of that, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I just use it to try and avoid self-pain. How about that?
I think that's a good way to use it.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to add to this, and they could go off in different directions, but I'm going to control myself because otherwise we'll just keep talking. I tell you, it's so hard for me to control myself and not ask you a whole bunch of other questions.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I won't, because otherwise we'll be here forever. And I
love the blast at the end. It goes up. Right.
I'm trying.
No, you're doing great.
So there was a question here from Liam, and he said, so this is about a question about Shan. Yeah. So what is it like for Shan being an EJ and a number one? And how has it been for her, and where do you see her trajectory? Yeah, that's definitely a good one, because it's been that one has been huge for her, because it's made sense of all of the contradictions she's always had in her life. And I've definitely been able to see that, where I will watch her functions go back and forth, where I'll watch her DE. You'll feel this in yourself, like your DE play will turn on when there's people in the room. And it's like the functions will like, I'll see her like trying to put everyone ahead of her in the moment. But then
once it's like, right. And then like long term, or once it's quiet time, she's like, all right, how do I get back to my thing? And like,
Yeah.
that's where the stronger. And so you can watch the functions contradict each other, being DE and Savor Flex, where you're right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
there really is a pull between, this is what my functions want to do, and this is what I feel obligated to do, but then this is what I want to do.
right.
And it's really hard to balance that out.
Right. And I think the social needs are fighting for your long term. And I think the functions are just trying to get you through pain in the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why because you'll do the same as Shanny. You'll like DE go along with somebody's bullshit. And then later on you'll kick yourself. You'll be like, damn it, why the fuck did I do that? I don't want to, right?
Yep.
Stupid DE. Turn off for a second. So I think the social needs were more impactful to her, because I'm just like, yeah, I've always known I'm crazy and entrepreneurial. That makes sense. So I'm kind of like that. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, people will type, you're like, you're an ENTP. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. Right. So for me, the socials wasn't, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But for her, she's like, oh, fuck. And same with Cody. It's made a lot of sense with Cody being a social number 4. We're like, oh my God, that's why he's so different. So that's been a dramatic thing. So it's been, I'd say it's still that hit us in January. So like, we're still recovering and getting on our feet from the social impact our own self. And so I feel like for her and I both, in our own ways, just like a little bit I shared with just me trying to get a handle on specialization and flex, which are not that fucking hard, compared to like what Shanny's having to manage, and it's hard as hell. But like, so for her, I'd say it's a very big thing where she's kind of reshifting her views, her mindset. And now all of a sudden she can see things a lot more clear. She's learning to kind of step more into her, her masculine flex, her strength energy, and being able to set aside time for herself. She's looking at projects very differently, where she's like, all right, fuck this asking for permission and waiting for Dave. And she's just kind of stepping more into her own leadership roles, but then like realizing like, oh, my DE muscles have made me weak in the DI, in the OI. So now she's like going back and working on that. So it's been a lot of growth for us both in our personal lives recently. And so trajectory wise, I honestly, it's so hard for me to say this, but I kind of don't know. Like,
okay.
I'm not supposed to know the future. It's my fucking job. It's easy to
An
do.
oracle.
Yeah, that's what. So it's like I don't know, because I feel like I'm trying to get caught up on that. So I'm watching closely like Layla and Alex Tramosi, because they're a number 1 and number 2, so they're similar. And then the other couple I was talking about, like she's a number 1 and the other guy I think is number 2. So I'll see similarities or couples that are kind of the same. So but I can tell you, as a number 2, I can definitely see and feel the power of a number 1, right? Like, do you feel that? Like yeah, right. Like the social, it feels like the sexuals, like you can walk into a room like, whoa, kind of like that person, like all of a sudden they'll catch your interest, or you're like, that's my buddy. You know what I mean? Like the sexuals
You just
are pretty.
pick up on the energy.
You really
away.
do. Yeah.
Very thing to say, but yeah.
Right. Very much so. And so I feel with like, I feel like to me, it's like if I'm around like some giant of a man, I'm like 6'2", so I'm not like a small guy or whatever, but like sometimes I'll be around these like massive football. I'm like, holy shit. Like you can feel the animalistic force of how big this guy is. And like my body will pick up on that, and I'll feel that with the ones where I'll be like, this is a bigger animal than me. This one, paper, scissors, rock, I lose, So I've been able to kind of see that now in Shanny more clearly, of like, oh, there's more of a power in here than what I naturally have, So I think the kind of talking it out, I think what we're doing now is we're kind of behind the ball. We're kind of like unconsciously, things are kind of sorting out and starting to work. And then we're like, that's weird. Why is that working? Like, so for example, it's like we're starting to do like separate projects. Like she's doing the live show, and then I'm at a distance, and I'm slowly coming in as a helper, and then I'll do more of this, and then she's slowly coming in as a helper. So I think we're like unconsciously, stuff like that is starting to work, where we're both kind of setting up our own, learning to not compete with each other, because I'm a DI number 2, so I'm very number 1 like, and then she's a DE introvert number 1, so she's very number 3 like, or 2 like, So we kind of cancel each other out. So when we go to war, neither one of us back down. So seriously, fucking seriously. So we're trying to figure out how to, we're not even trying to figure it out. We're kind of like watching it start to sort itself out. So I honestly don't know what the future would be, but it's kind of like I'm really learning to see kind of more of the OE perspective of I feel like what Shanny and I have done this far has been like more than enough for a lifetime. So like if we end up working on projects more separately, we're like Layla and Alex do, like they work very separately with separate teams. They don't work together. Like, that's good. I can be very thankful for all the projects that we did do together. And now we start to work on stuff separately and kind of help each other out or whatever. I'm like, I just don't want pain. So whichever way the universe is trying to flow, I'm going to, as soon as I can fucking see it, I'm going to try and get caught up on that, you know?
Yeah. It seems really silly. I think as someone with T, I kind of have this almost like this expectation that everything Felix and I do work-wise, we do it together. Like we're always working together on the same things.
Yeah.
But realizing that we both don't have the same needs when it comes to work, and that it's okay to work on things separately, and we bring our own value to that.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're trying to figure out at the moment. And it probably helps that he's TI, and he's got his TI standards, his work, what he wants to do. So it kind of balances out a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that makes sense. Just like looking at you guys from the outside, I can feel like I could see me and Shan more clearly. Cause like you describing that, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that as you guys grow, like by the time you guys are in your late 40s and you're building more and more and more, like, of course you're gonna be working on separate stuff. Like you're gonna work on stuff together when you're like kid roommates, you're gonna do everything together. And then that makes sense that, so there's kind of a blindside move. Like I can see it in you. I can see like what's obvious that you guys would, as you get stronger, you'd kind of grow apart. So it's like, so that would make sense that Shannon and I would do the same thing.
And because it'd be
kind of, right. It'd be kind of weird if like we're both like 50 and we're like, we do everything together. You're like, really? You're still
like, what's wrong with you?
That's good. There's another. This has been therapeutic. That's helped as well. Kind of talking that out. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
We're at the 2-hour mark, and
I'm good whenever you are. If you want to do another 10 minutes, Shanny's got the squirrel. I've got all my work done today. I'm in play mode. I got nothing else to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a question actually from Felix about marketing that we kind of skipped past because we just sort of naturally went on to something else. And I know he really wants to know about this. So his question is, as someone who's always had an interest in marketing, but only recently jumped into writing with the ebook, what did marketing look like for you before you started writing? And then also, what has changed for you now that you see yourself as a writer? I think he heard you mention somewhere that you now identify as a writer or more of a writer.
Yeah. It's a specialist thing I've picked up. I am doing the writing. I get up, or I do an Alex Ramosi where I get up early and I get that kind of hard work done first. So I've got it down to 2 hours. So I just do 2 hours of writing every morning. And so right now I'm working on profiles, and I'd say maybe I'm like a third of the way done. And so I probably need another year or so, but like it's taken me a long time to figure out how to do this, how to create profiles that would work and be at scale, and something that me and Shannon, assistant, could actually manage logistically, And so it's working really well. I like a lot of stuff I do, I'm just kind of like blasting it out, but like this is finally something. I feel like the terms in the ebook, I know they need to get like go back through with like spell check and grammar check, and there's some imbalances there, but hey, I fucking love the terms. I love the ebook. I'm very proud of myself. I think the
ebook's amazing. It's really good. It's a really good job with it.
Thank you. That means a lot. And so those are a couple examples of where it's just like in the RC days, there was a couple of planes where I'm like, I put my name on that one. I'm proud of that one. So like the ebook I'm proud of, the terms I'm proud of, and I want to clean them up and stuff. So the profiles is like, I feel like that's the one I've really been kind of working up to, is where I want to be able to, because like, you can't get that one wrong. You can't be like, okay, here's a profile of your type, and they read it over and they're like, yeah, I mean, kind of like, then don't fucking send it out. Don't do it until you can really get it all figured out. So I've been I've been going at the video typing last November, so it's been a year now. I'm always like way out ahead. So I'm like, I need to start getting good at video typing and clients and figuring out what they want. And so I've been really taking over the video typing department the past year and making that a thing I'm specializing in. I've been rehearsing as I'm playing with people. I'm getting things calibrated. So I'm watching, what do they respond to? Are they like? Are they not like? You know, I'm getting now emails, the responses back of like, hey, when I got your audio, Dave, a common response I get is, I laughed and I cried. I know I'm like looking for the FE, but I'm like, there you go. That means that I'm hitting them. I'm emotionally, the stories that I'm talking about are hitting them in a real deep way. It's not just like, that was interesting. I'm not looking for that was interesting. I'm looking for the deep emotional impacts. I have a couple of friends that are like reading the profiles, you know, editing them, and one's an ESFP. And she's like, yeah, that worked. I was fucked up for the next few days thinking about the EB chapter. So yeah, great job. That was good. I'm like, yes. She's like, yeah, you got me. I'm like, yes, I'm looking for that. So I have taken on the identity of a writer because kind of looking at Carl Jung, it's probably a 4 if you think about it. It's like what I see with like Carl Jung is it's like so thankful for what he did, so thankful for all the work that he's discovered, but then it's just kind of like, God, I wish he would have wrote that down where it made fucking sense, you know? And so I know for my type, the fucking NF consume last, you know, guru answers from God, like, yay, another NF consume last figured out fucking personality theories. You know, they all do. Hey, do you want to write any of that down on ST? No, man, I'm busy. So I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be that guy. You know? So like I have to, not only for my own self-growth do I have to write, but it's also like for the good of the discovery, for the good of the tribe, the good of the mission, the good of when I'm gone. You know, everyone's gonna be like, he only left us a bunch of fucking weird YouTube videos with jokes at the end. I mean, that was weird. But it's like, you know, it's like, can you write this shit down? And can you actually practice what you're saying? And then let's see you put your 2 hardest functions together and write something out. So just accepted that is what I need to do. I need to learn to love that and become that. So I started with the ebook and the terms, and then it's like one of those things of like, okay, if I'm going to start this is now for life. I can never not do this. So it took me a long time to get into it. But now it's a skill that it's getting easier to do. But I also know if I don't do it for a month or two, the skill kind of goes away, you know?
Yeah.
I'm saving ChatGPT for the end. Like probably I'll run the term. Like I don't want the chat bot to make it too easy for me, because like what I was talking about earlier with the S and the N, trying to figure out the SE and the NE, that all came from me writing out. That's the chapters I was writing out this last week. So it's forcing me to put it together, you know? So anyways, just want to do right by what the people want, what the people need, what the mission is. And that is going to be, can you get these things into profiles? Because then it gets really tangible. Then husbands and wives can get it for each other. But then I also got to have the business ready to go, because now you're going to get more demand if you got a tangible product with a profile, or if like you watch your husband get his type of like, holy shit. And they're like looking at this, like, what'd you get? You know, like I'm seeing this on a small scale. So what I'm seeing with the clients, like the husbands and wives, like, what the fuck did you just send my husband? And so I'm getting a lot of family members coming through, because they're like, what the hell is that? You know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know. So it's like trying to kind of trying to get ready before the wildfire goes off. So anyways, just knowing and accepting that it's basically just, if I don't do writing, I just have so much more pain coming my way. How about that?
Yeah.
That's really,
Would the profiles replace the audios that you do, or would you still do both?
That's a great question. So I got a great answer for that. So I would love to talk about the profiles like fucking all day long. I'm really excited about them. So it's really ingenious the way that I have the models, the modules written. So say a future Holly comes through. It's like I have all of these modules. That's why I was talking about earlier. It's like I have to know what is consume last, not consume last with my type, consume last of all the types. I need to talk about just pure consume last.
Yeah.
So every type. So I have to write the consume last chapter, and it's got to be refined where it's not getting all the filters. And so therefore I have the consume last chapter. When somebody comes through who's consumed last, like, oh, you get a consume last chapter, and Holly gets the blast last chapter, you know? And that the blast last chapter you need to read it, and Felix needs to read it, and both of you guys, with everything else different, has to go, that chapter resonates with me. So it's really hard, and that's what I'm constantly playing around with. I'm a linguistic person. I can't even say the word, but I'm playing around with the words. I'm playing around with, how do I say this in such a way, this is where like sales and marketing background came in, that both people will be like, that resonates with me. That's just constantly what I'm trying to refine it. So so a Holly comes through, or let's just say a Felix. We'll pick on the other guy, not to push on the spot. So a future Felix, on these ISTP guys come through. So they get the decider chapter, the TI chapter, blah, 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 all the way down, as well as other filler chapters that kind of tell them what an observer decider is, so it's very cleverly put together where it flows. It works really good. But then each one of these little modules, as that person's profile is being built, there is a little, I haven't done the audios yet, but probably like a 5-minute audio to every single one of the modules. So it's going to be like, all right, now you're reading the consume last chapter. Let me also, as you read it, let me also tell you, so I can tell you through emotions and audio, hey, this is really what to look for with consume last. You're not replenishing yourself. You're running on empty. You're going, and being able to say it in an audio way as well as written. So therefore, the profile is going to be maximum impactful, and that's what I'm a little nervous about. Is like, motherfuckers, these things are going to work so fucking good. That's why I'm like, wanting to take my time, because I'm not ready to get those unleashed yet. But I'm very, very excited about it. I'm a little nervous, very much how I felt about the terms in the ebook. I'm like, these are going to be pretty good. Now, also what I found though is that so the number 2 land, you have the mission of the personality stuff. That's like your mission. But then I'm also a business guy, number 2, social media personality. And I noticed that a lot of people, they want to hear from Dave. They want to hear from their buddy. They want to hear from, the guy on the camera. And so I have to figure out, like, okay, so I can type more people, and then I'm now just putting together their profiles and then some images or whatever else. So they're getting a nice profile, and then send it out. And there's pre-recorded audios in there. But then I've really realized, because then I'm like, great, now I could just pay somebody to do that, and I just get AI to type them, and I can go live on the beach, right? So you go all the way. It's like, how do I get the fuck out of this so I don't have to do it at all? But you gotta get your exit strategy. I was able to get it all the way there of like, okay, so how do I have to never fucking do this again? And once I get there, I'm like, okay, so now if I wanted to be a part of it, then it comes back the other way of like, oh, what I'm going to be doing is also giving people maybe like a 7-minute personal audio, because it's a very emotional experience where, like, as a client, you're sharing your heart and you're sharing your life with somebody, and they're like, whatever, had the AI bot type you, here's your fucking profile, fuck off. And you're like, I just share my life. Like, who was listening there? So I feel like the FE is off if you're not having the hey, I got your video, I listened to your video, it's really great, it really resonated with what you're talking about, I really admire what you're doing. Like, you're just giving them some kind of an emotional response of, hey, I heard you, I saw you, acknowledged you, a personal thing to it, and then let the profile and all the audios do the heavy lifting, because that would get my workload. Because right now I gotta gear up to do an audio for each client, and I run my mouth for about 30 minutes, and I can only do a few a day, and I got literally a squirrel dancing on my head, like literally, and I like try and like roll with it, like tell the clients, like, so that's our squirrel, So I wouldn't be able to scale that, but I could scale the profiles with quick little audios in it, So yeah, trying to get all the pieces to fit and be able to do it, to where I don't get burnt out. I'm not blowing up. I'm not getting frustrated. I need to be able to do it on a bad day with a squirrel in my head. So I'm just building it, just all that different directions, and then finding out how to hire assistants. Like, rather than trying to hire number 2s that are fucking awesome, I've been wasting time just trying to get Navy SEALs here. It's like, hey, just hire a couple of assistants, just to stop making it such a big deal. Your amazing 2 squad will be here someday. Start just hiring normal people for the little parts of the job, so you can get these things fucking shipped out.
Yeah. I guess that's the problem with typing. It's something that it's very difficult to learn how to do and to type accurately. I mean, there's not very many people in the community who are even close to the level that you guys are at. And so it's not really something that you can delegate or outsource yet. And so it kind of creates a bottleneck with you and Shan as being the only ones who can type.
Yeah.
And then like what you're saying before about like the exit strategy, like you can't really have that if you can't delegate or outsource these things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and oddly enough, the typing is not my largest problem. Like I have been able to get a lot of progress on that. It's actually, honestly, the current problem I'm trying to have right now is like the email send out. Like I got to ship 2 clients tonight. Okay. You think I'm going to get them the right fucking function bubbles, or am I going to tangle it all up? You know what I'm saying?
Sensory.
So yeah, that. So it's like my largest problems is like the logistics of like, if I had 10 clients a day, everybody's getting the fucked up. They're like, this isn't my profile. Everything's mixed up. Like, damn it. Oh, again. Right. So that's my current largest problem. And I'll get that kind of figured out. But with typing stuff, we played around with this a couple of years ago when we've had different kids here. So I was saying earlier, with like, we found if people are here on the premises, even if they're just average people, they all have learned to type within a few months pretty good, 60% a few coins, because I beat them unmerciful of like, you are not ever allowed to put down a coin unless it's right. Now, here's your clients, and I better see no fucking guesses, because you don't know shit and you need to practice. You know that you don't know shit and you cannot get it wrong. And so I'll like scare them on that. And so after a couple of months, they'll start putting in like 1 coin, and I'm like, it better be right. And then it is. I'm like, okay, you know. And so they'll slowly, but then they'll hit a wall really quick where each person will be able to see, and a lot of times it'll change. Like there's, typing, like also, like I can obviously see they're not an extrovert or whatever, but then everything else is hard work. Yeah. So with that, by having not just me and Shan, so me and Shan will lead each team. So me and Shan can't be on the same team, but so we'll on opposite teams, and then we can have a bunch of stooges next to us. And so none of us, and myself included, don't have to type the whole client. Now, Shan and I need to sign off on put all the guesses together. But we're finding if you have a handful of people around and you train them how to not get stuff wrong, and then they can just see a coin or 2, and then you put all those together, and then you have a conversation at the end, and Shanny and I always do, where we just make sure we got everything right, look it over, talk back and forth and stuff. That the typing hasn't been it's not our biggest problem, and I think as well, like getting the client the Google Docs and the videos that they send in, that has helped us save a lot of time, that we can watch different videos, different pictures, different dynamics, so we're not stuck trying to pull a lot of information out of one 45-minute video, and therefore you really got to work and you really got to guess. It's so much easier, just jump to another video where they're ranting about their boss. And you're like, that's the coin I was looking for. Now I can see you, Yeah. So yeah, just getting all of these little, that's no longer the largest problem. Now it's this one,
There's always something, right?
Yeah. The fucking, that.
Yeah, it's funny. We read, both Felix and I read the E-Myth after, I think Shan might have recommended it in a Q&A or a class or something at one point, and we both read it and we're like, okay, so how does an OP type business apply to the E-Myth? And that's what we're trying to figure out. And one of the things we're sort of stuck on was things like typing. If there's only 2 people who know how to type, then you're going to be the bottleneck for quite a while until someone else can do it.
Right. Yeah. It's thankfully AI is here. We were planning to have to go to San Francisco and pay some people to go and work with AI, but now AI has kind of come to all of us. So I feel like if we can get as high as we can as humans, where it's not just Dave and Shan, where it's a group of a handful of people here, then that makes the stair steps it a lot easier to the and probably most likely AI would just be like one of those stooges in the room where like it can start to kind of help with a few coins, right. But they'll have to be people in the loop for a while. I'm also finding too that it's also like it's not something that I'm trying to like get out of. I kind of like enjoy typing. I learn a lot from typing. I don't want to fucking do it all day. I can't become the bottleneck there. But like having to come in and I definitely like this is going to be for a long time. Like I'm going to make sure that I sign my name to everybody. Like it's going to be a long time before a profile goes out where I haven't like watched the video and all that kind of stuff. That'll be a while. So but I'm not feeling stuck. I'm not feeling like I'll be stuck in that forever. I can put my pressure on training more people, either lots of them this way or get some really good ones and do that way, or both, and AI. But yeah, I'm afraid more of like, messing up the emails on the send outs.
Hey, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
It's a demon sensory problem.
Yeah, that. And it's triggering.
It is. Yes. I actually had an incident at work. Fortunately, I don't get too hung up on it, but an incident at work on Friday where I'd created all these letters, and something happened where I was saving the letters and it saved the wrong name.
No.
It was addressed to, and one of my work colleagues was like, "Hey, there's something wrong in my letter. Can you check it?" And I checked them all. I'd done like 10 of them, all wrong, and I was like, "How did this happen?"
Right. That's my life. Yeah.
Sensory.
Yeah. Oh, really good. You got any more?
I can't decide if we want to go through the comments to see if there's anything in there.
Let's say hi to the people real quick.
Cool. Okay, let me just have a look here.
Can I see them? There are comments. I just gotta click on the comment tab. Oh, they've been there the whole time.
Felix has a question. Who's more of a Disney princess now, Shan or Dave?
Disney princess. Define.
Felix, what do you mean by Disney princess?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maisie our squirrel. She's definitely the Disney princess right now.
So cute.
Let me say hi to the people I see. There's Habib. What's up, man? There's Lily. Lily, I got your email. I'm going to respond to your email pretty soon here. Good to see Lily. And Sammy. Sammy's always backing us up in the comments. We saw Sammy on the live show a while ago. I remember her from years ago. There's Felix talking about the squirrel. Who else we got? Layeth, what's up? There's David Gotham. That's what I call him. He's got his sister. Yeah, he's got his sister coming through for typing. And,
yes. I think I saw a post on Facebook about that, actually.
Yeah, his mom is really great. Yeah, he's an example of like pulling the family in,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Do we have any there's Nicholas Riley. What's up, man? All right. Yeah.
Ian owes you an email.
And there's Caden. What's up, Caden? He's always around. I met a kid recently. I think it's the same type as Caden. Yeah. A type twin out there.
Here's a random typing question. Do you see demon feelers having an easier time with repressing emotions since they just ignore it, or savior feelers since they are more experienced with them?
Where are you reading that?
Can you see it on the screen?
Okay, yeah. All right, let me read it now that I'm listening. I was looking at Ian. Do you see demon feelers, so thinkers, having an easier time with repressing emotions, or a harder time repressing emotions since they, or harder time? Wait, what? I keep like reading into it. Okay, easier time with repressing emotions since they just ignore it, or savor feelers since they are more experienced with them. All right, so tell me what that says.
So are demon feelers better able to repress their emotions since they're just not aware of them, or is it easier for a savior feeler to repress it because they are more experienced with their feelings?
I don't know. What do you think? As a demon feeler, what do you think about that? Like, how do you feel with your emotions? Are you aware that you're suppressing them when you're suppressing them?
No, a lot of the time I'm not actually aware that they're even there until they build up and then just kind of sneak up on me and attack me. And then I'm like, okay, I was feeling something about that.
Right. Don't you love that? Like, people are like, women are feelers and men are thinkers. And it's like, oh, that's not what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
what's wrong with me then?
Yeah, right. I'm like, hey, what does that say about me? I'm a thinker. I'm a guy. Yeah, it's funny how much that plays out. Like, I guess what I'm processing is there's there's so many people in your life that see you as a female, so they're going to read you as a feeler, and they're just not going to believe you when you're like, yeah, I'm suppressing my emotions and I'm not aware of them. When they finally blow up, can you then look back to the previous day or the previous few days and see where you were getting the little whispers and you were just kind of ignoring them?
Most of the time, yeah, because I've been doing the error log as well. So if I know that I've been pissed off by something, I write it down, and then so you can go back and be like, okay, so I'm still pissed off about this one thing that I haven't resolved yet.
Yeah, well, Sammy here, she's same as me, Savor FI, and Ian. So I think the feelers would say that, like, yeah, we're aware that we're suppressing them all the time. If that answers the question.
I'm wondering if it's different for FI versus FE as well. Just because the FI is your DI, so you're more aware of what you're feeling, whereas the FE is focused outwards. So maybe they have less of ability to know what they're feeling.
Right, because that'd be like the math of asking me, am I aware of what I'm thinking? And it's like, when I'm talking out loud, I am. A lot of times I'm not aware of my thinking.
Actually, that is something that I was processing recently compared to Felix, because I was like, I feel like I don't have thoughts most of the time. I don't have thoughts.
Not unless you're talking it out. Right.
Exactly. Whereas Felix is always thinking about something, and he's always processing something, and I'm not. And I was like, is there something wrong with me? But I think it's just that it's TE. And
yeah, there is. We're not TI. That's what's wrong.
Yeah. I wonder if a better way of reframing that question is, do Savor feelers have a better ability to control their emotions versus the demon feelers?
I think so. Yeah. Definitely, I'd say so. Overall, yeah.
You can't control what you don't know is there.
Right. Yeah. Because the feelers are also like, Savor feelers are also like, it's not the end of the world to have bad emotions. It's just like thinkers. It's like, it's not the end of the world to have a bad idea. Oh, here's Ian. Ian just said something. Literally putting my feelings to the side for the feelings of others.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So you'd probably, Ian, same with TE, you'd have to like talk it out. Yeah, they're just not on the ready. Yeah. That's a weird one, huh?
Yeah, that's something that I realized I had unsurprisingly a massive blind spot when it came to FE, and just not really understanding what it's actually doing. And typed a couple of FE people recently, and I'm just kind of getting more of what it's actually doing, how it's actually operating. Because Felix has FE, but it's FE last, so he kind of has an idea of what it is, but couldn't really explain it.
No, I totally get it. I figured this out a while ago, and it's like, you and I are going to always suck at FE, because it's, by the time you go to like reach in the bag of FE, like Ian is constantly collecting FE. So it's like like I was saying earlier, it's like when I go to type, it's like, what have I been doing the last 3 months to load up a bag to draw from? So it's like, you and I are not walking around constantly collecting, oh, that guy values that. Oh, that's interesting. So most people value that. Oh, they like that. Like, so we're not doing all the collecting. You're doing all the NE. You're collecting all the NE, and you're collecting all the TE. So when someone asks you N or T, you're like, hold on, here you go, right?
Yeah.
But that magic is coming from all the work you did prior. And so like, this hit me on a video a while ago, like, oh, we suck at FE because every time I go to my FE bag, it's empty. I'm like, it's empty because I'm never putting in the work, because I don't give a shit what other people like,
Yeah.
Therefore, of course, you and I can't FE, because we haven't done 3 months of FE. We can start, and I swear to God, I've tried a few times. I just get so bored. I just get so distracted. I'm like, like, okay. So the next week, pay attention to what everybody, and then I just stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It very much feels like that. And whenever I compare myself to Felix, I'm like, this is what I'm not doing.
He has FE. So he is actually FEing,
Yeah.
So like even me is like FITE in the middle, Savor feeler. You'd think in some regard, I'm better at FE in the sense of like, I can bullshit my way through a conversation and make people laugh. Sure. But as far as like having any idea what the tribe values, he would know and I wouldn't, because he actually has a place to collect that.
Yeah. I've been kind of seeing that in terms of like marketing and like how we're designing our thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, but I think this looks good. And then it's like, okay, but nobody else thinks this looks good. This is not what other people like.
Right. Right.
So I'm getting like these little hints of it, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually missing this stuff. This is
Yeah.
avoidance.
Any extrovert function of the 4 extrovert functions that you don't have as a savior, you're not, or to even have. Yeah. So it's like, that's always like any, and like, what are you guys collecting? What are you looking at? What are you randomly doing? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Marissa, hey Dave, I'm wanting to reach out, but I've been too decider scared as a
Oh,
masculine. I'm demon. Fe, ESTJ, do you express annoyance in real time? Do I express annoyance? Yes, of course. I have a hard time expressing frustration. Yeah, right. And I feel that with Shani as well, with like the yeah, reach out, by the way, if you're looking for typing or whatever. I am not overwhelmed, which is great. Been enjoying it. Yeah, expressing frustration. Yeah, I'll see that with Shani. She'll be like too nice to too mean. It'll swing back and forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to express negative emotions, because then that reflects back on you, and
Yeah.
you don't want to upset people.
Yeah. Ian says a horrible spokesperson with it, only single activated, but literally collecting what others value on crack. Don't ask me to recall it on command, but recall when seeking to do it for others. Yeah, that makes sense. It's rattling around back there. And that's how I feel with TE. It's like, yeah, I can bullshit my way about lawnmowers or tow hitches on a truck or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm somewhat paying attention to that. You know, like I don't. If you ask me to write about it, I got nothing. But if like a conversation is going, yeah, when I see all like the telephone guys will come out, all the manly men will come out with their trucks. You know, oh, I come running. I drop everything I'm doing. I run right out. Hey guys, I'm one of those. Like, hey, you got some tools to set up, and I'll just bullshit talk tools and sensory. But yeah, like it's not like Ian's saying, it's not like I can. It's not like unless I'm talking it out in that environment. You know, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess like if we're paying attention, we should be able to FE as we get older, you know?
Yeah, and I know, like, you know, how we're always projecting, so our types are always being projected back out onto other people, and we think that everybody else operates the same way as we do.
Right.
And I know that with T, I'm tracking what everyone's doing. I could tell you what people are doing.
Right.
But as soon as we have to talk about what people like, I automatically go, oh, I'm not allowed to talk about what I like.
Right.
Because it's weird and personal, and I automatically assume that everybody else is the same.
Right. Totally. That makes a lot of sense. I can hyper track what people like if they're in my box. One, Shan, I can see her patterns and her emotions crystal clear. And anybody inside my box, I can FE the shit out of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Your box and
that. Yeah, because it has to pertain to me, because it's selfishly, because I need to emotionally know what this person is about, because they're going to cause me chaos. So it's worth it, because it's like people like Christmas decorations. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with what I'm working on? I do not need to know that. Toss. But like, as soon as it comes to sales or whatever, like we saw in the RC, it's like put Christmas lights on your plane, they'll sell better. Like, okay, I'll listen. All right. Once it's there for a selfish reason. Yeah. Weird, you know?
Someone recommended that Felix and I do a video on the Friends cast, because a lot of the Friends cast have been officially typed, and talk about the dynamics between them. And Felix read the question. He was like, I don't even like Friends. I don't want to, like, Friends, the TV show. I don't want to do a video on Friends. And I was like, oh, I mean, if people want it, we'll do it. But
right. Yeah. I think I'm going to do a class on the guy that died, Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
One of the things he said in one of his last videos, he's like, yeah, you know, I'd like to be known as not just the Friends guy, but as the guy that really battled with addiction and try to make progress on that. Because he says a lot of very interesting things where he's like, it's not your fault. It's a disease. It's kind of like very contradictory to the self-growth of like, push yourself through it. You're always responsible. It's like, I'd actually like to explore what he's saying, where he's saying it's not your fault. It is genetic. And kind of, you know, I like to kind of double the side, weed through the contradictions. And I feel like as a double decider, it's like, if I know this is a good person, then I don't worry about the contradictions. Like I'll be able to work out the T and the F, because it's not like Matthew Perry's an asshole. It's like, no, Matthew Perry was a good guy that really, really struggled with a lot of addiction. And I'd like to hear it from somebody that actually went through it and just hear what they have to say, rather than somebody on the outside going, no, you can just willpower and it's free choice. And like, are you sure? Are you going through that?
Yeah.
So I might save that one, like, when a day that Shani is off, where I can kind of like get into the deeper FI or whatever. Martin, another question about a pattern I've been seeing lately, probably really hard to track. Do you see a cluster of people who are DI dreaming in first person while DE dreaming in third person? I don't think I have seen that, or I haven't been paying attention if I have.
In first person.
Are your dreams normal, Holly?
My dreams are about people trying to kill me. They're very decided dreams.
Yeah.
All with people all trying to kill me or throw spiders at me. Reoccurring ones about that.
Yeah, we do see the demon SIs we'll see that a lot of demon SIs are afraid of spiders.
Oh,
the
hate them.
ENFPs. Yeah. That seems to be a demon. We do see that one, the demon SIs and spiders. Yeah, I wonder, like feminine FI, DE. I feel like a thing that's not talked about enough is like the threat that women in general feel with all these, aggressive, masculine. If we lived with a species of like Sasquatches that are like, if this thing came after me, there's nothing I could do about it, I'd be kind of fucking scared too. Like if you look at how much bigger a man is to a woman, and like women are scared, right? Because men are fucking psycho and they're strong. Like, so you guys are scared, right? So I feel like the females, I do hear that a lot. They'll be processing. I don't know if it's just a EJ thing. It might be also a female thing as well.
Be. I think mine's probably quite deep in my subconscious, because I don't consciously process being afraid of big strong men, because I did years of martial arts, so I always felt like I was okay, but my subconscious is obviously processing something.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
Mine have always used to be about chaos and stuff. Now they're not. They're definitely I feel like randomly the past year they've been processing like good coming. I feel like it's this weird kind of dream to share, but I feel like all the past trauma and stuff is settled, and now it's like, hey, are you ready for a lot of this good that's coming? So just trying to like feel like my dreams are trying to process that, which is rather annoying. Where's all the exciting dreams? Like
thing to process there. It's nice.
Yeah. I love the exciting dreams. There's like a car chase and a shootout and like at the martial arts somebody. God, those are the good old days. Now it's like happiness is coming. I'm like, fuck, what a waste of 8 hours. I don't get to consume anything all day. At least my dreams were fun. They used to be.
At least you remember your dreams. A lot of people don't.
Yes, it's kind of, yeah. But that'd be an interesting one to. I do know there's just a gold mine of psychology with dreams. Getting into that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's another giant one.
I think it'd be super interesting, but I also worry that it's too NF, too woo-woo. There's not enough sort of science to back it up.
Yeah, I feel like what's happening now, like just like me asking you about I think we're getting to the point to where there's enough people that speak the ops language that have gone through the couple of years of the settling, because it's a drama mess going through your type. If you're doing it right, you're going through a massive roller coaster for a couple of years. Then you get out the other side, you kind of level off, like, okay, and then you can kind of get your bearings again. And then there does seem to be more scientific conversations that can be had without all of the kind of the games. Like I can just ask you point blank, like, hey, talk to me. Like we could continue this conversation for a long time, over months of like, hey, let's actually try and figure out what is the any function doing. And so you have somebody on the outside with no any, and you have somebody who has any, where they're like, I'll just tell you what's going on inside of my head. I don't like it when the sensory changes, and all the scientists are like, oh, I didn't know that. So I'm feeling like getting a good base of people that are calm, have gone through it, are applying ops to themselves, and can speak the code. Because it's like, I feel like I'm wasting a lot of time at this point, trying to like dance around and trying to figure out what FE is and NE is. And I'm like, why don't I just fucking ask Ian or ask Holly what they're doing with those functions? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that is going to raise the level of understanding this kind of stuff. And I'm seeing that in the community with people that have the functions are sharing. They're like, this is what I'm doing with them,
Yeah. Yeah, better to hear it from the people themselves. They can just tell you it's a shortcut rather than trying to figure it out yourself.
As long as they've made it through that couple of years, you know what I mean? I don't want to hear from some Myers-Briggs kid that's like, I'll tell you what NE is. Like, oh, shut up, you know? Yes.
You don't even know.
Right. No,
Yeah.
you need to have sadness in your heart. I'll tell you what we're doing. It's horrible. Like, there you go. Tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right,
Okay.
pretty good. Want to jump out here?
Yeah. Otherwise, there'll be never-ending questions. So,
Yeah.
are you all good to just end it here?
Yeah. Sure thing. Any burning questions? Feel free to email me, everybody, and I'll answer the best ones. If they
Thank
don't
you so
annoy
much
me.
for giving us an extra hour as well.
Yeah. Thanks
We
for
got
setting this
through a lot
up.
more questions, which was really good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Holly. Thanks for setting this up. And just like Shani tried to warn me, you have been absolutely so great to work with, and just not only the interview, but like sending me the questions previous, giving me reminders, helping me out. Like, it's been very, very nice. So
I was trying to eliminate as much chaos as possible for you.
Which you did. So now I have extra coins of like, I'm not exhausted. I'd love to go later, you know?
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
I'm
So
glad it worked.
thank you very much. Well, good. Yeah, we'll be in touch, and I'll try and drop in sometime when you're talking with Shan.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I think we're talking to her next weekend, possibly.
Great. Yeah, she's we're working on her live show a little bit tonight. I'm person
nice.
B.
Forward to that.
Yeah. All right, great stuff.
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who was watching and put questions and comments in the chat. Great to see all the activity.
Yeah.
And awkward.
Thank you, everybody.
Don't know how to end this.
Right.
Just so
let your camera overheat and just pull the plug.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Awesome.
See ya.
All right. Thank you. Bye.